Can't mute YouTube. Are you on your phone, Dee Dee? On YouTube? Is your YouTube and Discord both on your phone?
Rick, am I coming through?
Yeah, I can hear you. Ah, okay. Well, down at the bottom of the picture, like right around here, if you probably if you move your finger down there, a little speaker icon will pop up, and if you click it, it'll mute that. There's not going to be anything of interest on my my YouTube video. Where this is basically going to be talking, unless you want to be able to see the chat, I guess. Anyway, one of the reasons that I particularly wanted to play that is, well, there's several reasons, but a really big one is that a while back I did I forget which show it was, but I talked about had to do with whether I believe Sasquatch were human or ape, and what I said was I would like to find out from somebody who's been up close if the females have female genitalia, not the breasts, but the genitalia. And I talked about how breasts... Okay, this says I just went offline. Oh, now I'm back online. I don't know.
Yes, Rick, I agree exactly, 100%.
So if they have, and then I said, well, okay, we all know that. That's specifically a human trait, and it's in a Bigfoot too. If the females also have female genitalia, as in labia majora is a human-only characteristic. And according to him, they have the same, you know, he called it a sex organ, I think. But, you know, genitalia as human females. And then I think in a couple more minutes in that interview, Morgan, Art Bell asked Morgan, is that true? And he said, yes, that is true. So that's two verifications that Bigfoot females have exactly the same equipment as human females. That to me is kind of like the nail in the coffin that says they have to be closely related to humans. They have to be another human species in that line. And that really tells me that that's why the government is trying to cover this up. Like what I've said before, that these are not just animals. If they were just animals, the government wouldn't care if they came out in the open. But they have rights, which Morgan said too, when he said if you kill one and it turns out that it's an actual humanoid or whatever, hominid, whatever the term is, then you've actually committed a violation of civil rights by murdering this thing, blah, blah, blah. Well, the government is going to be responsible for protecting their human rights just like they would any other citizen or Native American. You know, just because they're stupider doesn't mean they don't have rights. They might be restricted in their rights, like anyone under 18 can't vote, they can't drink, they can't join the military, etc., and so on. But they are going to have rights as far as the right to not be shot, you know, things like that. And the right to live, you know, as far as have a domicile in that kind of thing, which that is going to be the big problem. What are your thoughts, Dee Dee? Since only you and True to Form are in here.
Well, Rick, if I can say something.
Go ahead.
Am I coming through?
Yeah.
Am I coming?
I can hear you. Yeah.
You know, that's why we believe that they're a form of humanity. You and I have discussed that a lot. And if the males had full genitalia as human, why wouldn't the females? Why wouldn't you believe the females would?
Because
and that also,
gorillas and chimpanzees have genitalia like humans. But the females, it's only humans that have that genitalia and breasts. But
Yes, exactly, 100%, which is why we believe they're a form of humanity. And
right.
which is why we also believe the cover up is that deep.
Hmm. But what you said a minute ago is if the males do, why wouldn't the females? Well, male gorillas and chimpanzees have the same genitalia as humans, but the females don't. So there's a difference there. But in Bigfoot, there isn't a difference, which to me says they are some type of human offshoot or whatever. They are part of they're part of us. They should have rights, and they're probably sentient. You know, they have they're self-aware, et cetera, and so on.
Yeah, and what are your thoughts on that sketch? Is that sketch? What are your personal thoughts on that sketch compared to what you've seen?
Hold on, Brown Dwarf, you're busting my chops, man. Because I said stupider. He's taken issue with. He doesn't think they're stupider. They are. They're going to be. They're going not as intelligent IQ wise. They might be have more on the ball out in the forest and stuff than humans because they've been out there longer. But I'm saying, as far as like, you're not going to see one in a law library. You're not going to see one performing neurosurgery. You know, they don't have the ability to do those things. Which sketch now? The painting or the sketch that I put up here? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, you know, the sketch, the frame sketch that the guy was holding up a minute ago in your image there in the interview.
Yeah, I still
How
have
do you
it.
compare that with what you saw? What do you think about that sketch, that
I
painting,
still.
that frame print that he was holding up?
It's not close to what I saw. What I saw is behind me because I did that myself. It's more. The nose is too human. It, you know, well, I shouldn't say that because mine is human too, but mine is more African American. The nose, because
Well, like we've always said, there's many differences in humanity, so there would be many differences in with the Squatches as well. Do you believe that?
yeah, sure, but I don't, because the distance from the bottom of the nose to the mouth is too short. That's a human distance. The Bigfoots, unless it's a different species, they have a longer upper lip, like like a monkey or a gorilla or whatever. They don't have a short one like we do.
Yeah, I just think there's differences. They're not all going to look the same.
Well,
There's
if they,
probably are a few that
no,
look
no,
more
no,
human-like.
no,
There
no,
probably are.
no, no, because if they have that difference, they are not the same species as what I saw. Species, not race, because you look at Asian Americans, African or Americans, Asians, Africans, Slavic, every nationality on the earth that's human, all have the same exact dimensions in our face. You don't go to, you know, Japan and their upper lip is twice as long as mine. You know, it don't happen because we're all the same species. We might be a different race, but we're the same species. So therefore, there are certain things that are going to be exactly the same, like our shin rise, the proportions of our face, the proportions of our arms and legs, etc., and so on. Whereas,
Yeah, but also in our sameness, there's also a lot of differences.
yeah, but not to that extreme. What I'm saying is that the Bigfoot I saw had that upper lip. The one that he has a picture of does not have the same upper lip. It has more of a human upper lip, which would make it a
Yes,
completely different species as what I saw. That would mean there's two Bigfoot species out there. And I find that hard to believe that two of them are out there.
yeah, so yes, yeah, so do I. I do as well. What do you think of Bugs' story, Rick? I mean, I think I believe it. I believe it really happened, but I think it's very unfortunate that he felt that they had to take down a family.
I think he's a Justin Smeha, whatever the hell his name is. Although I don't know if I completely believe his story, but I think, you know, and then people have harped on him about, hey, you know, you were in Vietnam and, you know, you went ahead and shot at this thing even though it had two legs, and didn't you know night something or other, night exercise or something. I don't forget exactly what he said. But back when I was in the Army, they didn't go over that crap. You know, we learned, oh yeah, don't do crossfire, don't shoot at each other when you're, but when you go out in on an exercise or whatever, and for his situation, he was in Vietnam. You didn't go out there to the same area where there were other soldiers. So basically, if you ran into anybody out there, you were shooting them, So they didn't have all of that. So when he came back to the States, he shot the thing because he thought it was an animal. Not only that, the thing was massive. I don't think there's a possibility he would have confused it for a human, even though it was on two. He was probably confused and said, what the hell? Why is it running on 2 feet? But people have seen bears walk on 2 feet, so he shoots it again. It wasn't until he got up and close and personal when he freaked out, because it had so many human characteristics that he got, like he said, he was afraid that the thing was some kind of mutant human and that he had killed a human, and that's why they buried him. So I believe all of that. I don't think that people should be harping on him about shooting it and stuff. That's the way it was back then. Back in the 70s, there was a lot more country, a lot more just people shooting stuff. I mean, they didn't even wear orange vests and stuff back then. People were all the time getting shot by other hunters because they didn't do that. They made it a law. I think it was in the 80s when some people did wear it, but it wasn't something you had to do until like the 80s, I think is when it was, because of all the people getting shot while they were hunting.
Yeah, I know all that crap went on. I mean, I experienced the 70s as well, bro. And I participated in a lot of that crap, unfortunately. But, I mean, just to go out in the woods, oh, hey, there's a bear, let's shoot and kill it.
Well,
not even in
how old are
season.
you?
Not even in season. Nothing. Hey, there's a bear, let's just shoot and kill it.
Well, back then, no, my family would have done the same thing. The hillbilly side of my family that live in Virginia. Oh, yeah. My Uncle Mike used to grab a rifle and just walk out the back door and go out and start killing shit to bring home to eat. He didn't care.
Well, that don't make it right. Well, that don't make it right. Humanity's ignorant in so many ways. We're infantile. We're like infants in so many ways.
No, what I'm telling you is that it was a different time. Back then, nobody cared. This was about feeding yourself. So when you lived out in the middle of nowhere in the country, in the hills or whatever, you just went out and you got what you needed to eat. It didn't matter if it was a season or not. That was just part of your life. That's how your life was. That's what you did. It wasn't until the late 70s and 80s when things started to get a little more stricter about hunting seasons and that kind of stuff. So, back in the old days, nobody cared. I mean, I remember when I was in Arizona, my dad decided he wanted rabbit, so we just grabbed a gun and went out and got rabbit. And there was no talk about what season it was. It was just, let's go get one.
Yeah, I just think it's unfortunate that they felt that they had to kill two of those things, a male and a female. Who knows? There's probably babies somewhere that.
I think the babies would have been there if that was the case. They probably would have been right there with them.
Yeah, possibly. But as you know, a lot of times, maybe not. But yeah, possibly. I just think it's unfortunate. But I do believe Bug's a story. I believe it really happened.
I mean, I think it's unfortunate too. But what the hell was I just going to say? I think it snowballed into that scenario. I don't think he said, hey, I think that's a humanoid figure. Let's go ahead and kill it and then chase it down and kill its mate. None of it was intentional. It all just snowballed and ended up that way. And
I believe that 100%. And that's how things happen. And I won't lie to you. When I go out, I'm armed because I will not be a victim. We both know they're unpredictable. I am armed, but in scenarios happen like that, they just snowball. Especially, I can just, in a situation like that.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. I'm checking the comments here because I think there's a troll in here. There's a troll lurking somewhere. Dave Burton, when you said, if you don't have an opinion, keep your insults, who are you referring to? Is this a troll, or are you talking to me?
Is Dee Dee on here?
She's in here, but she's got her mic muted. I think it's because she's got the YouTube going at the same time. That's what I think she said a minute ago.
Yeah, I see her mic icon has got a got a mute on it, I see.
Yeah, but I see her. She's lighting up green as if she's trying to talk. But Dee Dee, if you're talking, we don't hear you. You have to change your settings like you did yesterday. You're push to talk.
Yeah, there she goes. She's trying to talk again. It's coming in red on me. It's not coming in green. And then there's a line going through her mic icon.
Let me see if I have her muted. Hold on. Do I have it set to put? Do you have to do push to talk? Oh, I had server mute on. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got to do push to talk.
Now,
there you are.
can y'all hear me?
We can hear you now.
Yeah, there you are, Dee Dee.
I had you muted
Finally.
for some reason.
Finally,
Sorry.
I've been saying stuff and nobody heard me.
Sorry. I had a server mute on and I didn't realize it. Because I was hearing True to Form, but not you.
Plus, I wanted True to Form to finish because that was a serious discussion. But
yeah,
I still want to say in the same sense, not that long ago, maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago, Justin Smeha, wasn't that his name?
Yeah.
Had the same reaction, and his quote, he quote unquote said, "I saw a monster in the woods," and it startled him so bad he just started shooting.
Yeah, yeah. And he did the same thing. He did it when he shot the baby. He said because the baby looked exactly like a little black kid.
Okay, I thought he was just scared of them, just hadn't seen.
Yeah, well, he had said that he saw a monster in the woods. That's kind of a weak mentality to have. I mean, I can understand, but you know what I'm trying to say? I mean,
he took a lot of flack for that. There are a lot of people who were very upset with him.
Well, Justin Smith.
Well, he's on record as saying when it all played out and he laid it out, he felt really bad. I believe him in that. And hey, Rick, what do you think about that whole Smeha deal?
I think in the end, yes, he felt bad and he tried to make up for it. But I think at the time, because I saw his first interview with, who the hell was it? It wasn't Snowwalker. I forget who the other guy was. He did an interview in his kitchen. I don't know if you saw that. They were having a beer talking about it. But I think when, it was Rosahibi, I think is what his name is. He did he was the first one that interviewed him after it happened. And he was completely unapologetic, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I killed it. What the hell, And yeah, someone was out there, I'm going to shoot it, and that's the way he was. And I think that's exactly the way he was. He saw the thing, and I think he saw it was covered with fur. He knew it wasn't human, didn't know what it was, but he wanted to kill it because that's just what he does, He loves to go out and kill stuff, or at least at the time, loved to go out and kill stuff. And that's why.
Didn't he do it from like the window of his truck or something?
Yeah, he says he stepped out. I don't think he did. I think he was poaching, but he added that so he wouldn't get nabbed for poaching. But who knows? He's him and his friends are the only one who knows what he really did. But he just wanted to kill it.
Imagine the stress of that family unit, that Squatch family unit, when he opened up on the youngster and then the adult. I mean, imagine the stress on that family unit.
No, he shot the adult first. And then after he shot the adult, the two young ones came running out of the weeds freaking out. Because
oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right.
And then they were trying to find, I think it was a mother. They were trying to find mom, and they couldn't. And finally, when him and his buddy, they tried to chase mom down, she got away. The young one came up over the hill towards him looking for mom, and he shot it right in the throat.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Boy, can you just imagine the stress of that Squatch family, minding their own business or doing whatever. But, you and I had talked about that Smeha story before, and do you believe it really happened, Rick?
I don't know. I mean, I do in a way, because I remember how unapologetic, and he was like, although that kind of is why I don't believe it too, because he was like too much like bravado about, yeah, so what, I shot the thing, it deserved to die, that was kind of attitude. And it might have just been over the top, and he might have just been trying to get some notoriety or even pull a hoax in the Bigfoot community, and it backfired on him, and now he kind of has to continue the lie. There's that possibility. Yes,
of course. There's a part of me kind of hoping that it never happened, but there's a part of me thinking that it really did.
Well,
Yeah,
didn't he go
that's the
back
same
and
with me.
get some skin and hair to try to
That
submit for DNA?
turned out to be bear, according
Yeah, yeah,
to.
that was another strange aspect of that whole story. Is he went back and there was nothing there. So what does that tell you?
Well, like the guy just said on the interview, that after a while the gases would be released, and it would attract other predators that want to come and take advantage of the kill and eat it and carry it off, blah blah blah. Well, he didn't even bury this thing. He covered it up with like branches and stuff.
I
And
think it was snowing, wasn't it? Wasn't it
well,
snowing at the
it
time or
snowed
something?
right after that. He said they got like 3 feet of snow. He couldn't go back right away. So it was just sitting there and off gassing, because it was decomposing. So any other predators around there would have came over and took care of it. But
Yeah, but
I'm
as you
suspect.
know, you've been in the woods a lot, and I have. I find dead carcasses all over the place. Deer, they don't totally disappear.
I've never found one. I've never found anything dead other than a dog, but that
Oh
was
man,
it.
dude, and you must not get out much. I find all kinds of stuff. I see all
Why
kinds of stuff.
Used to get out
why
a lot.
didn't he take pictures is my question. Why didn't if he had enough time to go back, whatever, find some skin and hair, why didn't he take pictures?
I don't know.
Yeah. Hey,
Maybe he
Rick,
just
can the
didn't
chat
own a
room hear our
camera.
conversation?
Yeah, the YouTube can hear us.
Hey, Brown Dwarf, why don't you come on Discord? I'd love to hear some of your stories. Rick, have you heard any of his stories?
No, actually, I've been reading some of the stuff he's been talking about, and I wanted to talk to him about. But I want him to get into Discord and participate in here, and maybe tell us stories like what you just said. Come on in here and let's do it.
Yeah, you got to try to get him on the show one night for an interview. He's got some good stuff, I think.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do is interview him or see if he'll just participate in the town hall. Because eventually I want the town hall to be where anybody can come in here and tell their story. Kind of like on Finding Bigfoot, where people just stand up and tell their encounter stories, I wanted it to be kind of like that. And then somebody who has a very intense story would be an actual full interview, I'm going to put the link up again. Oh, my chat did not. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, no doubt. So, Dee, so the guy that was in the interview with Bugs, you're saying that's the guy that started the protection measures in Washington?
Yeah, that's Robert W. Morgan. He's actually ex-military also. Rick, did you know that?
No.
Yeah, he's a really, really smart guy. Is he still around? Last I heard, he was retiring out in Montana, him and his family.
I don't know, but in that picture I put up here, where he's holding the painting, he looks old as dirt. So I don't know how long ago that was.
Yeah, he did. I got to concur with that. He did, but Dee, he was kind of in the interview. He was kind of getting into Bugs there a minute about how he handled the situation. Did you notice that?
Yeah, he got pissed. He was angry about that, and he had a point, but. Like I was saying, the guy, he was just a dumb country boy. That was the problem. And I knew a lot of guys like that. They would just shoot stuff. They didn't care. They didn't think about the repercussions or the consequences, and most of the time it's just an animal anyway. So really there aren't any, but unless you kill a mother and they have a litter or something like that. And then they wouldn't care. They just go kill the litter too. They're just dumb country guys, and that's the way they see animals.
I don't remember if it was Morgan or Bell who, I don't know if it was that interview or a later interview. One of them had a map to that location, like at the time of the interview.
They talked
and I wonder if Morgan had it still.
He talked about it in this interview that he gave Art Bell a map that would take him right to the location. Then I heard another interview, which is a shorter one. It's the second interview, where there was I think it's a different guy, who said that he would help him. I think his name Dalton or something like that. But he would help him legally show that he's not at fault for killing a human, so he's good to go. And the guy said, if you do that, I will give you the map and we'll go right there. And he said, and if not, he says, I left instructions to my wife that upon my death to release the location.
Oh,
Now, who are
wow.
you talking about, Morgan or Art Bell? Because
Bell.
I thought Art Bell had a map today.
Making sure that he was okay, and then they were going to go ahead and go out there, but I haven't run across anything, a follow-up to that. So I don't know whatever happened, with that.
Yeah, it's been some time now, too,
Yeah.
The whole thing may have been intercepted by, who knows who.
Well, and he gave enough information that the government could figure out where he was talking about. I mean, I think I probably could. All the information he talked about in his interviews, I think I could probably pull up Google Earth, and might take me a little time, but I think I could cipher where he's talking about. And if you're, get it down to just maybe, a football field size area, you get enough soldiers out there looking for it, so you're going to find it. Or even what do they call them? The dogs that find dead bodies.
Hey, Rick, you got somebody else in Discord right now.
Cadaver dogs, Rick.
What'd you say, Dee Dee?
There's someone else in Discord, but their mic is slashed.
All right, I have
hey white boy, your mic, you gotta unlock your mic. We can't hear you.
Let me see. No, he's muted. Hold on. I got it set to where when they first come in, they can't talk, just in case a troll hops in and says, like the other guy in the chat, hey, I've got an erection. He jumped out right as I enabled him.
Yeah, his pick there looked kind of funky. I don't know what that was.
Yeah, he might have been. I didn't see him in the chat. I think he was lurking, and then he decided to jump in there. He probably was a troll. Maybe not, but probably. That would be the only reason he just jumped in and jumped back out.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
And
Amy, hold on. Amy, I installed Discord and followed prompts. I still don't think I'm in. Yeah, Amy, I don't see you in there. Hold on. What you got to do, now that you have it installed, I'm going to put the link in here. Just click on the link, and it should open up your Discord and take you right in there.
You can do it, Amy. Just keep at it. You'll figure it out.
It only took us 4 hours.
It didn't take you that long. It took you, I don't know, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, something like that.
About half an hour, maybe 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Rick, since we got hooked up the other night, now I just go right in, and now I'm right in there.
I don't know how you ended up in the interview room, because maybe it's the same link goes to all of them, because I don't know how you ended up in there.
Well, I had the option. It gave me the option: interview, town hall, or after show. I had all three options.
Oh, okay. So these links must just be going to my server, not. I thought it was a specific room. Well, that's cool. That makes it easier.
I had those options too, and I was like, oh God, I'm in interview. Let me get out of here.
Yeah. Well, the interview is going to be obviously when I do an interview, so people kind of like call in and ask questions. Well, they can go into the Discord and they can ask questions of whoever I'm interviewing.
Yeah, that's very cool. Keep that option open, Rick. That's a very cool option. But yeah, I was on Discord and I was able to hear the full interview as if I was in the chat room.
Yeah, exactly. And when you were in the interview, could you hear the audio too, or did you have to go to town hall before you could hear it?
What do you mean audio? You talking about the background?
No, the interview that I had playing, you could hear it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it was coming through loud and clear. Yeah.
But when you were in the interview room, you shouldn't have been able to hear it. You should have only been able to hear it when you switched over to town hall.
Now I can't remember. Maybe not. Maybe
okay.
not. I think when I went to after show, I think so. Maybe not though. I don't know. I can't remember now. It was just minutes ago and I can't remember already.
That should be the way it is. I just wanted to verify, that's all. Anyway, so there was some other points I wanted to make that guy brought up. And
Hey, Rick, in your best guesstimation, how old is this whole Bugs case and interview? How old was that interview on Art Bell? I've heard it. I've dissected it and studied it many, many times over the years. How far back does that go?
The interview was in 01, but the event happened in 1976.
Okay, my goodness.
That's why I was saying back then it wasn't the same. People just went out and shot stuff, you know. I mean, there were seasons, but you really only paid attention to seasons.
It's just a very interesting case file to study.
Yeah, well, I like the observations he made, like like I said before, the similarities between Bigfoot and human. And then that six-toed thing, that kind of throws me off. I could see if one of them had 6 toes, but if both of them have 6 toes, it makes me wonder if they're not siblings. And there was inbreeding, because that's what happens to humans too. They end up with like an extra finger or extra toe.
Well, I'm sure that. Go ahead, Dee Dee.
No, I just agreed. That's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, and you got to think that probably is pretty prevalent. I would think within the Squatch species, it probably happens. And
well, yeah, I mean, if they're spread out the way that they are, there probably is a lot of inbreeding with them because, you know, they grow up, they get horny, and the only thing available is brother and sister. So, or even mom and dad, who knows, you know. Amy, I don't understand why you're having can't view. Dee Dee in True to Form, did you run into that issue?
No. If you go into your invite, accept the invite from Rick, did she do that yet?
She said she did accept invite, then join SAS Hype, then can't view. Is what she got. So I don't understand what that's all about.
Well, don't forget, she's got to go into her settings and hit push to talk and set that up. Once you do that one time, then you're always ready to push to talk. You never have to do it again.
Well, what she's saying is that she can't get in. It says can't view.
Is she on a phone, cell phone, iPad, or desktop?
Well, she can hear you, so.
Okay, well, then she's putting in the wrong. Tell her the invite code has to be exactly correct. Everything has to be exactly correct.
Well, she clicked on it because I put it up in the chat.
Well, I don't think you can just click on it. You have to actually manually type it in once you go to Discord.
No, you can.
She's got it down.
You can click.
Oh, that's right. You have to create an account once you download the Discord app. You do have to create an account with username and a password first.
Yeah, I had to do all that.
But don't you have to do that before you do the accept invite, join SAS Hype? Or do you do that and then you create
exactly, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so I assume she's already created the account because she went through the join SAS Hype, but then she gets can't view. Oh, she's on.
I'm sure she'll figure it out in 4. I'm sure she'll figure it out in 4 hours.
She's on a cell phone.
That's okay. That'll work just fine.
Well, I'm telling that you asked. She's on a cell phone, which Dee Dee, you're on a cell phone, right?
I'm on my cell phone, yes.
She says she did create an account. And Amy, are you using Android or are you using iOS, Apple?
I'm going to go back and just, if you can't hear me, just give me a second. Let me see if there's a step maybe we skipped.
Oh, okay. She's on Android.
Hey, Rick, can we talk about another case? I got one that I want to.
Sure. Go ahead. Shoot. That's what Town Hall is for.
What's your knowledge, or anybody in the chat, what's your knowledge of that case that happened? I think it's Oklahoma. I can't remember the exact location where the couple was out one night and they were, getting down.
I know what
they were having sex, and they found him completely eviscerated. Do you know?
No,
you know anything about that, Rick?
Yeah, they didn't. They found the girl split up the middle, but the guy, his head was just twisted around backwards, and he was thrown in the weeds. So basically, what it looked like is a Bigfoot came up on him while they were having sex, and he said, "I think I'm going to have me some of that." And he grabbed the kid, cracked his neck, and chucked him in the weeds. And then he hopped on and took a ride on the girl. And then at some point killed her by using his fingernails and just slicing her right up the middle from, crotch to sternum.
Yeah, and then even law enforcement has suspicion. Did law enforcement have a slight suspicion that it might have been a Squatch? Did you ever hear that?
No, it's unsolved. I actually was in touch with one of my listeners who had contacts with the police, and he contacted one of his police lieutenant buddies, and they looked into it and found out that at first he said there's no such case. And I said, really? I said, and this is in, what was it? And then he contacted me again. He said, no, correction. The guy did find it when he looked for cold case, because it was sealed, and it was sealed at the request of the families.
Well, I think it's suspicious that, everything around it. And, she had deep bruising on the inside of her legs, and that only happens when you're still breathing.
Yeah.
But I just think that case is very suspicious. What are your thoughts on that, Rick?
Well, the coroner at the time, he said that she had been raped, because that was evident from the bruising. And obviously she had been raped while she was still alive. And there was a guy there who, I think he was he a private investigator or a reporter or something like that? And he was talking to them while right at the scene as they were checking when they got there. And he said that her face was frozen in a look of terror. So evidently she died while she was terrified and screaming or something. So, which is weird, I mean, you hear about that, like see it in the movie, but I don't know how does somebody just die and freeze like that? You know what I mean? But that's supposedly what happened.
That may have just been his expression, but yes, I did hear that as well. But was that Oklahoma?
That was Four Corners, and it was I think it was, I want to say 1983 maybe, because somebody's asking about it in the chat. I believe it was around 1983, and it was at some hot spring that was just over the Texas border, because these kids lived in Texas. But it was in the Four Corners area, which I think is, the Panhandle area, actually, which is where he was just talking about. It's something Springs, and I mean, I haven't looked at that in so long. I actually I think I mentioned it or did a show about it. I'll have to look and see.
Right. I'm trying to
there
send
it
a
is.
screenshot.
Hold on, Amy knows. It's Brown Springs, Oklahoma.
So
anyway, I just wanted to say I'm trying to send a screenshot so Amy can see where she needs to be in order to go to her next step.
Okay. You're sending it to
but
her.
I can't put it in the chat. I did a screenshot of the window where she should be. So where can I send it?
Email it to me and I'll put it up on the YouTube.
Okay.
Amy, she took a screenshot to show you, I guess, how you're going to get in there. There's whatever the setting is or whatever. So she's going to send it to me and I'm going to put it up here on the YouTube video.
Hey, Rick, getting back to that Brown Springs case, how do you think that ever even got connected as possibly being a Squatch involved? Where was that initial connection? Who did it? Who made the assumption? Do you know anything about that aspect of the story?
Hold on. You're going to have to repeat yourself because Brown Dwarf, you just put Dub 45 in the chat. Where did you get that from? Oh, I get it. It's somebody that joined and I guess didn't stay. Oh, wait a minute. They're over here in the offline. All right. Dub 45. You should be able to join and talk now. I had to give you the role to be able to talk in the chat. If I don't catch you coming in there, just wait a second and I will give you that role so that you can participate in the conversation. Oh yeah, one guy's name was White Boy. Yeah, that's a little suspect.
Yeah. His pick there looked kind of. I don't know what that was.
Oh, wait a minute. Amy, you did make it in here because I see your name. I just gave you the role to talk. Maybe that was the problem. Why don't you try to get in again? That might be all it is. Just try it one more time while I... All right, then. Good night, Dub45. This is going to be a regular thing, doing town halls and everybody coming in here to discuss stuff and all that kind of stuff. At least I'm trying to make it a regular thing. Hold on, I'm going to check my email. I just heard it go. Yeah, go. Well, what was your question, true to form? I said you were going to have to repeat it.
Yeah, it looks like Matt just come into the. Looked like Matt just come into Discord. He's got to unmute his mic.
Well, I might have to give him a roll. Hold on, let me check. No, he's got talk. Yeah, he has to change his audio settings.
Yeah, he was with us the other night.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway, what I had asked you was, getting back to the Brown Springs case here real quick, we were just talking about. How did that case ever get connected as possibly Squatch involvement in the first place? Who made that assumption? Did you ever hear that aspect of the story? When did it ever get connected as being a possible Squatch?
I first heard that story. Wasn't it Coonbo and Bear, Rick?
I know Coonbo. Yeah, I think Coonbo's where I first heard it too. I think he knew the guy that I was just talking about, the private investigator or reporter or whatever the hell he was that was there. He knew him and he was talking about it. But then I had a guy that I knew check to make sure. Oh, it wasn't Coonbo, it was Bear. You're right. He actually ran into a guy at some when they were doing an they were out researching and they were around a campfire and the guy said, oh yeah, blah blah blah, and they ended up talking and he said, oh, and there's this, and I think that guy was a retired cop. No, he was a private investigator, or he was a retired cop who became a private investigator, something like that. I heard that years ago. Yeah,
Can Matt hear us?
Yeah, Matt, you can talk now, man. Your microphone's not muted anymore.
I can't hear him, but I first heard that story on Bigfoot Outlaw Radio as well. So yeah. It was the PI, it was the private investigator that made the assumption then, huh?
Well, it's a correct assumption. I mean, the guy's head was twisted around backwards and he was thrown off into the weeds, and then she was split up the middle by fingernails, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, the assumption's spot on. I mean, what is going to twist a human head on the neck completely around backwards?
Yeah,
There's really not anything that does that.
There's too much strength, you know. Good night.
The same thing that does it to all the animals, though, true to form.
Amy still can't
it's like
get
a trademark.
Amy still.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it's got to be a Squatch. It's got to be a Squatch because there's really nothing else that would do anything like that.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, Matt. Yeah, we hear you, brother.
All right,
Amy,
I just downloaded it on my phone.
Hold on just a sec, guys. Amy, according to what I'm seeing, you're actually in here. You're logged on right now.
I don't see her in here, though.
Oh, now she just went away
Not
again.
in.
Now she's offline again.
Tell her she's got to go into town hall.
General is the text chat. You need to go into town hall.
Did you send her that screen?
Well, I didn't have to because I knew I could just tell her.
Okay. Matt, you got your coffee ready?
Yes, ma'am. I'm drinking some right now.
All right. What kind you drinking?
Folgers all the way, baby.
Now I have to switch because I'm doing Maxwell House.
So, Amy, you are logging in. You just have to select the proper room. Go to town hall instead of general.
Yeah, I like my coffee as well, y'all. I'm not on it tonight.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is. Jay Katz. He said he saw a Fox News story, and they were talking about how Bigfoot is killing cattle just like that girl was killed by splitting them with their up the middle. Oh, she's saying she's not getting the option for town hall. All right, let me send her that or put that image up here. She should be. Does there something you have to click to make it expand so you can see all the rooms?
Man, do you realize the strength it takes to throw somebody up in a tree? Good gosh.
What do you mean up in
Yeah,
a tree?
there've actually been cases where they've actually found missing bodies up in trees. There's Amy right there. But
Hey,
Rick,
Amy.
Yeah,
Oh,
Amy,
she's-
you're in here. Hold on. You're good
Rick,
to
you
go.
might concur with this. A couple of the Dave Pilates stories when they went out looking for missing in wilderness areas, they would find the bodies stuffed into rock crevices or up in trees.
Hold on a second, guys. Amy, your mic is muted. You have to go into your audio settings and turn your mic on.
Top right.
And then it'll be push to talk. Did she know to do the push to talk thing? Or do you guys?
Not yet.
Are you guys doing push to talk, or is it just voice activated for you?
We push to talk.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I changed it
I have
back.
to push the talk as well.
But it's at the top right. There's like 3 little dots you hit, and then you go into audio settings. I'm sorry, voice settings.
And then you click push to talk, right?
Once you hit voice settings, you get a list, right? And you fill in, click that little push to talk thing. And then maybe you might want to check your board, Rick, just to make sure, like you said, they automatically come in muted. So.
Yeah, I did. I checked it already. She's good to go. She's got the roll to talk, and she's not muted. So as soon as she fixes her mic, we should be able to hear her.
But true to form, and Matt, also, like, haven't there been stories of them breaking guns in half or bending barrels of guns?
Yeah. I actually heard one on Sasquatch Chronicles a few days ago where a guy said they were out there and him and his friend were hunting, I guess, and Bigfoot came out, and his friend got so freaked out and he had his finger in the trigger that he pulled the trigger by accident, and it was buckshot. So he didn't think it hurt the thing. But, then they freaked out, come after him. They dropped their guns and took off running. When they went back to get their guns, they found the barrels were bent and smashed against the tree and stuff like that.
And they I remember that when they destroyed the hunting stand too.
Yeah.
I remember that one too.
Yeah. I've heard of cases like that as well. There was a case that I heard where a bow hunter was up in his tree stand, and a Squatch was chasing a deer, and was running deer, and there was a deer that came out of nowhere and laid at the base of this guy's tree. He was in his tree stand.
Yeah.
And a deer come out and just laid at the base of his tree, completely out of breath and exhausted. And then a Squatch came out and looked at the bow hunter up in the tree, couldn't quite make out what he was looking at. Like, he couldn't make it out, didn't know what he was seeing. But he said the thing reached up and touched a portion of the bottom of the tree. You ever hear anything about that?
Yeah, it touched the arrowhead and it cut its finger, and then it screamed and ran away.
Well, in the case of when, like, say this Sasquatch, destroyed the deer stand and the guns and everything, what do y'all think about that? Do you think that it's more of like a contest for food? Are they ticked off because somebody's actually hunting their deer?
No, I think they now, Rick and I disagreed on this, but I think they know exactly what a gun is and what it does.
Oh, no.
So it makes them angry?
We don't disagree. Well, we kind of do. But hold on just a second. Amy, you're very close. All you have to do is figure out how to unmute your mic, and you're good to go. You're in here. We're looking at you. We're just waiting to hear you talk. But my perspective is, I don't think they all know what a gun is. I think if they've experienced a gun, sure, they're smart enough to know what a gun is. I think that even a cougar, if it got shot in the ass with buckshot, if it ran into somebody with a shotgun again, it would probably take off running. It would be squeamish, you know. So yeah, I believe that Bigfoots, if they've seen one, yeah, they probably know what it is. But if you run into a Bigfoot who's never seen a human being in its life, and you have a gun and you point it at it, I don't think it has any idea what the hell a gun is. Because it's like people. You know, if you go out in the middle of Africa and you run into a tribe, or Australia or whatever, wherever there's a tribe of people that have been isolated, and you go out there with a gun and you point a gun at them, they're not going to know, and they're human. You know, they're smarter than Bigfoot, which what's his name is going to disagree with, but you know, they don't know. You don't just know what something is. You know, the only thing that we just know what is males and females and babies and food, I guess. And not even that, because, you know, if we were out there in the woods, we'd probably be stupid and eat poison berries, you know. We don't know what's what. Whereas a Bigfoot would. And that way, Bigfoot is smarter.
So you don't think that in a family setting, in a family unit, that, and if they're sentient enough, that there's no wisdom passed down to, you know, about humanity? You don't think that they pass any of that type of wisdom down to their offspring about the dangers of humanity?
Well, like I said, if they've experienced a gun, sure. As long as there is that kind of that extent of communication to where they could communicate that, yeah, sure. I believe that they could tell, you know, hey, I ran into these humans and they have these things and stay away from them and they're dangerous, whatever, however they would put it. Yeah, I believe that. But like I said, there has to be an experience with a gun. They have to learn what it is before they could do that. They don't just know, which a lot of people say, oh, they just know what a gun is. It's not possible. They can't.
Well, I think a lot of them have had experience, especially the eastern half of the United States, where they're around a great human populace. They probably become very knowledgeable. But to get off track for a minute, hey, what's everybody think of those Sierra sounds? Anybody have any thoughts on the Sierra sounds?
That's weird. My video is really blurry for some reason. The Sierra sounds? I don't. You mean the ones that? Oh hell, his name just went out of my head.
Who is it? David or Ron Moorhead? Or
Ron Moorhead. That's it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I find it difficult to think he hoaxed it. But I guess there.
Amy's gone.
Now it's back.
Rick, do you want me to send you some more screenshots to send during it?
This is the last thing I've seen from him. So he heard what we were talking about, and he opted not to come in here. So
I think to do Discord and watch the chat room, I got to fire up multiple screens to watch everything that's going on.
Oh, you can, you'll have to mute one of them though, because if you do the chat room and Discord, you get two conversations that are off like 3 seconds. But you can mute Discord and still hear it through the chat room.
Yeah, I tried that on my phone. I just downloaded it on my phone and tried to play YouTube on my iPad and Discord on my phone, and it lags really bad.
Oh wow, I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah, let me comment on something I'm seeing in the chat room real quick. It's Jay Katz. He says, I reckon in 400 odd years they've learnt what guns do. So let me comment on that real quick, because this is again back to that argument that they all know. How many? I mean, people watch movies with guns in them, and then, but you can hand a gun to somebody who's never handled a gun, who's never been taught anything about a gun. All they've done is see them in movies and say, here you go, shoot it. And they'll have no idea what they're doing. And they've actually seen it in movies. You're trying to say that just because guns have been around for a long time, that all Sasquatch know what they are. No, I think they have to experience it just like a human does. A human has to learn how to shoot a gun. They could probably figure it out eventually, you know, I mean, it's not that difficult to figure out how to shoot a gun. But people, I've met people said I wouldn't know how to use that thing, you know. So, I mean, you're not going to just have Sasquatch just know. They might tell each other they're dangerous and that kind of stuff, but it'll be just like humans. Each Sasquatch is going to have a different concept of what that gun is based on what its parent told it.
But they've been shot at enough. I think they know what it is.
No, only the ones that have been shot at would know what it is. You're not going to have a Sasquatch that lives 1,000 miles away that's never seen a human being, and this guy over here 1,000 miles away gets shot at, and all of a sudden the other one knows, oh my God, it just popped into my head what a gun is. That ain't going to happen. They have to be communicating it somehow. If they don't experience it, they have to communicate it.
Well, they over the course of 400 years and spread out migration, I wouldn't think it would be a case of one being 1,000 miles away. I think that they have all migrated from the same. That guy actually brought up a good point, Rick. Over the course of 400 years, and the way they've spread out all over North America, they may be a little bit more sentient than we think.
Sentience has nothing to do with it, because human beings are the most sentient creature on the planet, and a human being cannot do the things that some people are saying Bigfoot does. Bigfoot just magically knows what a gun is. Bigfoot just magically knows that a gun is dangerous. No, they have to experience it. They can't be, you know, it's not like, you know, a collective conscious amongst Bigfoot. They have to communicate it. And if they were able to communicate and understand that much, they would be building log cabins out in the woods. They would not be living under trees.
Well, they do build structures, and I just think over the course of many hundred years, you know, and I'm going to use this word again, pop shots. That the knowledge is out there. It's probably spread throughout the entire Squatch realm.
No, I doubt that.
Maybe not. Maybe that's a stretch.
Well, because you got to think about it. How is it that all of them somehow? Every single one of them have learned what a gun is, but they can't find a female to breed with without hooking up with their sister. Because if there was that ability to spread communication across every Sasquatch in the country or in the world or whatever, then it wouldn't be that difficult for them to hook up without inbreeding. They wouldn't have that much difficult finding a mate. You see what I'm saying? Because
I heard that. And also, I've heard stories where if you just point anything at them, they'll turn around and run.
Yeah, and that could just be, they have no idea why. They just perceive it as a threat because, you know, if they grab a stick and beat it on a tree, you know what I'm saying? They might just say, oh, he's got a stick. And they don't know it's a gun because they know what a stick is. You know, they beat each other with sticks, maybe. You know, they beat trees with them. They maybe beat deer with them. They just know.
But we have the thunder sticks.
Yeah, but I'm saying unless they experience that, they're not going to know what it is. They might associate it with some simplistic weapon that they use themselves because they use it themselves. They don't have to experience it from a human. But the bang stick, I get your point. The bang stick, they do.
What's everyone think of the Native American connection to the Squatch lore? Goes back thousands of years. So that aspect alone, we all have to realize that this is a real thing. I don't think that that's just made up.
What's that again? I was reading, sorry.
Well, I just had touched on what does everybody think of the Native American connection to Sasquatch.
Well, I think
that goes back thousands of years, and I mean that's not just made up. It's got to be a real thing.
Yeah, I think it is too, but I think they've also kept their distance and left them alone.
Yeah, yes, exactly. You're one. They respected. Yes, exactly right. You know, throughout the hundreds of years, Native Americans really just thought of them as another tribe. Is that you've heard that?
Yeah, some do. Some think of them as evil spirits. Some think of them as protective spirits of the woods. Some think of them as another tribe of humans. They all have different perspectives on what Bigfoot is. Yeah. But the most common denominator is cannibalism. They know more tribes have the same concept of them eating humans than the sporadic what they actually are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh no, I heard that. And hundreds of years ago, you gotta probably assume that Native Americans in North America probably dealt with that firsthand, and they probably had to deal with that problem. But have you ever studied the Bigfoot Indian Wars?
No, I've not heard of that actually. Unless you're talking about, oh, wait a minute, would that be yeah? Do you talk about the red-headed tribe or whatever the heck it is?
No, you can just Google that. You can just go to Google and Google Bigfoot Indian Wars, and you'll get hits on it. But there was actually a tribe that went to war with a tribe of Squatches. I believe it was in the Sierras, and the reason why they went to war is because to drive them out of an area is because the Squatches were kidnapping and stealing and killing their children.
Yeah, and raping their women. But that was that tribe of red-headed ones where they caught them in a cave and they lit a fire at the mouth of the cave and they died of smoke inhalation. That's what you're talking about. That's what it sounds like you're talking about.
Yeah, it might be. It might have been. But you ever see those old black and white photographs of possible Squatches in the cave? There's actually a photograph out there. It's an old one, black and white. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen that?
Me? No. Are you talking to me? Or Matt?
I'm talking to I guess I'm just talking to everybody. I'll shut up now. I've been going.
Through the farm. Go, man. Go.
I've been going off.
Sorry, I was checking my email because Dee Dee was supposed to send me some images for Amy, and I'm not seeing them. So.
Hey, Matt, have you ever had an experience?
Yeah, when I was a kid, I heard the screams and howls in the Manistee National Forest out there in Lake County, Michigan, but I've never had a sighting or anything.
Slipknot says it's Lovelock Cave. That's the red.
I'll tell you what, Matt. Michigan, like Ohio, has a lot. If you go into the BFRO network, I just did last night was looking at a bunch of stuff that I've looked at 1,000 times. Michigan has a lot of cases up there.
Yeah, I know they do.
Dee Dee, I still haven't gotten whatever the email of the steps is you were just talking to Amy about.
Yeah, where are you from, Dee Dee?
Yeah, Amy, you were actually in here. You just have to go into your settings and turn your mic on. So... I don't know.
Where are you located, true to form?
Right now, South Florida, but I've been all over. I was born and raised in Northeast Ohio, and my wife and I lived and worked, spent 18 years of our lives in California.
Oh, yeah, the swamp ape down there in Florida, huh?
Skunk
yeah. You wouldn't think that,
Sorry, y'all.
It's all right.
I just sent it, Rick.
Oh, okay. Amy.
Make sure it's 3 different screens so Amy can see. The first one's the next step and actually hit the thing where where it tells you to go and change your settings and showed her, had it like that. So it's like 3 different screens.
Okay.
Matt, I'm sorry. I'm from Louisiana, about 4 miles outside of New Orleans.
Okay.
About 30 minutes from 20, maybe 25, 30 minutes from Slidell, where Honey Island Swamp is.
Oh, you got boogers in there. They call them boogers down there, don't they?
Well, the Honey Island Swamp, they call it the Honey Island Swamp Monster. But no, we call them Bigfoot and Squatch. Yeah.
I wonder how Katrina affected them.
I heard a lot of stories.
I'm sure it messed them up. But yeah, I've heard of the Honey Island ordeal, and the Honey Island monsters that are in what they call them. Yeah, but where do they? I thought it was Louisiana. They called them boogers. Where do they call them boogers?
Certain places they
Alabama,
do.
Alabama, Mississippi,
but more like
Alabama,
yeah, and
Georgia,
where East Texas meets Louisiana, all those areas where Jim Lansdale and all research his property, they call them boogers there.
All right,
Rick, got the email?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to put it up here right now.
To me, they're all squatches. I refer to them all as squatches. Even here in Florida, they call them skunk apes. I call them squatches.
Yeah, same here.
There was an old theme park where they had a Six Flags. They had, put up, and it was a great place. I mean, and when Katrina hit, it just got completely ruined. It's still standing, but like there's trees and stuff growing. Nobody ever came and did anything with it. And there's a lot of sightings out there.
Are you all familiar with that photograph in Sarasota, Florida, in Mayaca State Park? Have you all seen that?
Yes, I saw it. There's two photos, right? That lady, it was in her backyard.
Yeah, that's only 5.5, 6 miles from my place, and I go in there a lot, and it's vast. It's big. It's vast.
All right,
unfortunately, I haven't seen anything yet, but I had a coworker tell me a story of supposedly there's an old lady somewhere around there that's feeding them.
Hold on just a second. All right, Amy, here's the pictures. This is the one screen, and then the very next one, up in the upper right-hand corner, the 3 dots, that's the menu. And this, when you click on it, you'll get this up here where it says voice settings. And then when you're in voice settings, you go down here and you see voice activity, push to talk. You want to select push to talk. And I think that's it on that. And then when you come back in here, if you look down the bottom, you see that little bar that says push to talk. That's what you're going to do, is just touch that when you want to talk. And that will unmute your mic. All right, guys, go ahead. You there?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got you.
True to form, was that the picture? It was taken at night, and there's like palm fronds in front of the Bigfoot, and he's showing his teeth.
Yeah, that's one of them. But that photograph right there that you're describing, and I'm sure everybody in here knows exactly what you're talking about. I know I do.
Yeah, it looks like an orangutan.
That photograph is whack to me. I just think it's an orangutan.
Hi, Nicole.
Oh, you're talking about the Mayaca?
I think.
Well, there's a few Mayacas. That's one of them, and it's an orangutan to me. I think
it's kind of like got caught by a palm tree or something.
Yeah, that's the one. But man, it's massive. It looks big.
It's a big If that's an orangutan, that's a big orangutan.
I think it's an orangutan. I don't think it's a squatch, but.
Well, did you ever see the movie Every Which Way But Loose? That's a good size orangutan.
Yeah, but the muscle tone on that, the muscle tone is just too massive.
I mean, the shoulders, it just looked like it had really big biceps.
Because there's no way of getting any kind of there's no reference. I live down there, and those palm fronds, and that's what drives me crazy about what the heck's his name down there in Palm Beach. I interviewed him once.
Mark
Zasky. He has all of these pictures. They're really blob squatches and pareidolia, and he'll circle and say, "There's one looking at us right now," and he shows this head, and he says, "There's the eyes, there's the nose, there's the mouth," and right next to it is a palm frond. In the palm frond, if that's a Bigfoot, his head's about the size of a baseball, because that palm frond is huge right next to his head, And it's like he's not taking into account the size of things around it and stuff. That can't be a Bigfoot because his head would be tiny, itty bitty,
Yeah. Those
I call them shadow chasers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that lady that took the picture, then that palm could have been 3 or 4 feet tall. Then you say?
Oh yeah, those are what we call down here palmettos. Those are palmetto palms or
Right.
cabbage palms, whatever you want to call them. But there's jungles of them down here, especially in Mayaca. Have any of y'all been down here?
I used to live down there.
Yeah, I have.
No, I've been to Pensacola. That's about it.
And I have a niece and a nephew who live in Pensacola.
Yeah. Like I said, Mayaca State Park is only 5-6 miles from my house, and I'm in there a lot. I go in there a lot, mostly to see alligators, but I go in there a lot, and it's a trip because if you're from up north, you can't imagine a jungle full of palm trees, and that's exactly what it is in Mayaca. It's a jungle of palm trees.
Mayaca, that's up north, isn't it? I used to live in West Palm Beach. You're talking about
no. Mayaca's in Sarasota, bro.
Yeah, that's up
Mayaca
north.
State Park. It's in Sarasota, just about 5-6 miles from my place in Siesta Key here.
Is that down by Alligator Alley?
No. Alligator Alley is Route 75, and that bisects the state north and south, and then cuts over from Naples and goes to Miami.
Yeah, but are you saying that Mayaca is down in that area, or it's up towards like Kissimmee, Orlando, up in there?
No. It's where I'm at, Sarasota, just south of Tampa.
Yeah, that's
on the
north.
on the Gulf side.
That's north. That's west of Orlando. I lived in West Palm Beach, which is closer to Miami.
Yeah. West Palm Beach is on the Atlantic side. It's over on the other side of the state.
But
I'm over here on the Gulf side, the
yeah
Sarasota area, Siesta Key, and that's where Mayaca's at. But there was that photograph, that famous photograph that father and son was driving through the park, and they took that photograph of that squatch supposedly out in the field. Y'all seen that?
No.
No, I ain't seen that one.
Repeat that.
Oh, that's
again?
a famous case. It's been on all the shows too. It's been on Monster Quest. It's well documented.
What is it now?
But
repeat it.
What's that now?
Repeat, because I'm kind of reading and then I lose part of what you're saying. So, what is it?
Oh no, that's a well documented case.
What case?
The father and the son photograph as they were traveling through Mayaca State Park, and they saw that squatch out in the field, and they got a photograph of it. But that case has been featured on Monster Quest. It's been all over. That's a well documented case. I thought for sure you'd all be familiar with it, but I've asked coworkers. I run heavy equipment. I've asked.
Are you talking about the thermal footage?
No, it's not a thermal. It's not a thermal photo image. It's daylight.
Okay.
It's a daylight image,
I've
and
not
it's
heard of that.
It's a photograph supposedly of a squatch right out in the middle of the savannah. When you drive through Mayaca Park in the dry season, it's like African savannas. They're vast, with patches of palms everywhere. You'd think he was in Africa.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how it is in the dry season. During the rainy season, the entire park's flooded. Sometimes you can't even get through it. But that's a well documented case. It's been on all the major programs. I thought for sure y'all be familiar with that. And the photograph, you can boot the photograph up right now to see it.
Yes, give me the link.
Well, there's probably 100 different links, but just go to YouTube or whatever and type in Mayaca Bigfoot photo, and it'll probably come up.
How do you spell Mayaca? M-Y-M-I what?
M-Y-A-A. Oh my God! Hold on a minute.
I'll probably M-Y-A.
M-Y-A-K-K-A.
Okay, Mayaca Bigfoot.
But I run heavy equipment, and I had a coworker tell me that he knew of an old lady over in that area that was supposedly feeding squatches that were coming around her property for years. I guess she's been feeding them. I don't know if that's true. That's just what.
A lot of people do, though. Heard stories of lots of people feed them.
Yeah, I got the orangutan. Oh,
that one. Yeah, that's definitely an orangutan. But
here's one in the field. But it's the size is 420 by 221, which means doesn't even qualify as a blob squatch. That image anyway. Is there a clear
Yeah, see
one?
that. Yeah, the one that's way out in the field like that. Yeah, see that was my gripe with the whole thing as well. It could have been a bear. There's bears that wander through there, but
that's the one you're talking about, right?
If you research the story, they swear the thing was bipedal and was walking through the field.
Oh, okay. So it's just their story. There is no better image than that. Is that what you're saying? Hello?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, that was just an interesting case. I'm in there a lot. I haven't had an encounter yet, and I've been in there. We've camped in there. We've done all kinds of things, but they say they're in there.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that Mayaka has, yeah. Actually, I think Mark Zasky goes into Mayaka, too. Now, somebody said Mark Zasky, I think it was, what's his name? Oh, I believe his name just flew out of my head. The one that said Brown Dwarf. He said, yeah, Mark Zasky's a great investigator, and gave him a thumbs up. I'm not arguing that Mark Zasky doesn't get out there. He's out there, and he should see them, but he makes a lot out of nothing, because there's a lot of those pictures. He sent me pictures for when I interviewed him, and he said, these are some of my best pictures, and I looked at him, I'm like, there's nothing here. You know, and he was even pointing it out and saying, look here, and I was like, there's nothing there. You know, you're really, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure he's out there, and I've actually had him tell his story of his first encounter, and I believe that was his first encounter. I believe he saw what he saw. I'm just saying that he makes a lot out of those pictures that they're not there. And I think if somebody's going to be an investigator, even if you heard the Bigfoot, you know it's there. If it's not easily seen in a picture, don't bother, because a blob squatch ain't helping nobody, you know. You can swear up and down it's there all you want, but yeah, Stacy Brown was the thermal footage I was thinking of. That was some good footage. That was absolutely a Bigfoot.
Was that the one where it was like not far from the camera?
There's the thermal footage where it was like behind a tree and it was peeking out, and then it stepped across the clearing to go like disappear behind some other trees. And they measured that clearing, and it was like 9 feet from one end to the other, and it took one step and it was across. Pretty crazy. Is that what you were thinking of?
No, I was thinking of that one they had out there. I don't know who put it out there a few years back. And you can see like the pecs on the thing.
It's got back.
Adam Wingate says there is a video of the thing walking across the field. It was even on Unsolved Mysteries. I think he's talking about that Mayaka. Now, video, that would be interesting to look at, because even, you know, blob squatch, a still image, it's harder to get perspective on what you're looking at than a video. Even a blurry video, you can look at things like Shinrise, you know, the overall shape, the overall proportions and that kind of thing, as long as it's not completely blurred out and pixelated like some of the stuff that what's his name looks at.
Yeah, I agree, Rick. There's too many blob squatches out there. Mm-hmm. I like your definition of that blob squatch, by the way.
What definition was that?
Just blob squatch. I like that definition where you really can't make the thing out or tell what it is.
Yeah.
Do many people get any images, definite images from the drones that they put out there? And I'm not talking just about Mark and Melanie, but like other people who have channels that do drones. I mean, Robert Kreider. He's another one. He hadn't been on YouTube in a while, but he did some drone footage.
No, I haven't seen anything. You know, the only people who claim to have great footage and images of Bigfoot follow that statement by saying, but I won't put them out there because people will just say that they're fake. Oh, well, it's easy to say that you have something and then say, but I'm not going to let anyone see it. You know.
You know, here's my gripe with drones. And Rick, you'll probably agree with that. You're not going to be under the controls of a drone and get it that much further away from you. It's not like you're going to send a drone 2 or 3 miles out.
Right.
and get footage. The footage you're going to get from a drone is just going to be an aerial shot of the area where you're actually standing.
Yeah, and it probably
also it'll be top view. You'll be looking at it from the top.
Probably the best way to use a drone would be for you to go out in the field, you know, where there's a bit of an opening, and then there's trees around you, and then have the drone go up, and then go over and just search the tree line, because the Bigfoot's going to be looking at you going, what's he doing? And he might not catch that the drone is getting footage of him while he's looking at you.
Yeah, that's a good. That's actually a good scenario right there.
Makes you wonder though, how many of them have disappeared where maybe a Squatch like grabbed one or stepped on it or threw it, you know?
Yeah. Salt Fork Lake, Ohio. It's Salt Fork State Park. I don't know if there's a Salt Fork Lake in Ohio.
Yeah, Salt Fork State Park in southeast Ohio. That's a well-known area.
Well, this guy
supposed to be a hotbed.
Slipknot saying there's drone footage from Salt Fork State Park. Man, I had an issue with that.
Salt Fork. I've heard of that drone footage down there, but I couldn't make anything out about it. I couldn't see nothing.
Oh, is that the footage where the guy, he was just testing his drone, and he caught this Bigfoot walking around walking in the trees or something? Have you seen that one?
Possibly.
Yeah, that's the one.
There's two of them that I've seen that are very similar. There's one where the guy he's supposedly testing his drone, and he's flying it around, and then he points out, oh, there was a Bigfoot right there while I was doing it. I think it was staged, because the guy kept flying over to that same spot, like he was trying to figure out, all right, he's supposed to be there somewhere, you know, and he kept going to that spot until he finally caught him, you know, and then I think he ran into a tree branch with his drone, and it crashed. And then there was another one where the guy was flying around, similarly testing his drone, and then on the other side of the trees there was like I think it was where the power lines were running or something. There was a cut running on the backside of the trees. He couldn't even see it from where he was, and there was a Bigfoot walking up the clearing. That one, I believe. The other one, I think it was staged, but I could be wrong, you know.
Hey, Rick, Matt, Dee Dee, what are y'all's thoughts about actually going in and going out and doing field work and your approach to it? Now, we see all these shows, and they're doing all this stuff, clanging around, clacking around, sending up drones, doing this, doing that. In my humble opinion, and this is just how I am, I think it's best just to go out and be totally stealthily, it's totally silent, and let things come to you. You agree?
Yeah, silent is better. Just like your hunt.
I agree. I think so too.
As far as what? Investigate, trying to get a Bigfoot to come in?
And just trying to get, good, credible, field research and information just for yourself, not necessarily to want to spread it to the world, but just to have it for yourself and go out and...
I disagree. I think that the best thing to do is go out there and act like you're enjoying camping, because they're attracted, they're curious about what you're doing. If you're out there and you're acting suspicious in making noise and stuff, like you're intentionally trying to attract them, then that's suspicious to them, and I think they stay away. But like if you're...
That's a good point, Rick. That's a real good point.
No. Yeah, that is a good point, because that does seem to... Because in all scenarios of humanity, when we go out, they seem to be attracted to that and seem to be curious. I do agree with that, but I think if you want to actively go out and search, I think the best way to do it is to totally be silent.
Nicole's got the right idea. She said, need naked girls.
That'll work.
That would work.
Definitely, that'll work.
That would work. Nicole, what pictures are you talking about? Snapshots. What snapshots are you talking about? And Nicole, you can join us in the chat by clicking on this link. And of course, you'll have to install Discord, but it's not that difficult. I'm going to make this a regular thing where people come and talk. And you are invited.
Dee Dee and Matt, Rick.
What?
No, I was going to bring up another case. Who was the guy in Washington State? He was an ex-forest worker, and he was out with his video camera, and he caught that squatch. There was two of them. Remember, he found the prints, and he was filming it, and then all of a sudden, in front of him, there were two squatches. You know what I'm talking about?
Wait, say that again, true to form. I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. I had to mute because I was looking at the chat too. Say it again.
There's that video image. It's well known. I can't remember the guy's name. I want to say Paul Freeman. The Freeman.
Yeah, that's it.
Footage.
Freeman footage. Yeah, that's like in my book number 2 to the Patty film.
What do you think, Rick?
There's Amy. Amy, are you there?
That looks fake to me. Because
why does it look fake? I mean,
because it keeps looking.
Yeah,
down.
What about it looks fake? Just I think the way the body is crested, and I mean,
hold on, Amy. We should be able to hear you now because your mic is not muted anymore. Say something.
Yeah, we should be able to hear Amy. I don't.
Hold on, I'm waiting for her.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I heard you. You have to push the thing longer while you're talking.
Do I have to hold it down?
There you go. That's got it.
Hi, Amy.
That was perfect.
Hi, Dee Dee.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Well, finally, Amy's got in here.
Yeah, you gotta hold it down while you talk. Yeah, but we can all hear you now.
So now, guys, I'm not saying the Paul Freeman footage is fake. I'm saying it looks fake to me because when the thing is walking, every time it takes a step, it looks down. And that's one of the things to me that tells me that there's a mask and it can't see and it doesn't want to fall on its ass. So it keeps looking
But Freeman was pretty upset though, like startled. If you notice in that film, he was pretty startled when he actually caught it on film.
That's where I'm on the fence about it because of things like that. Plus Meldrum went out there and looked at the trackway, and all things point to it being real except for it having to look down when it was stepping. But then again, we do too. That's why I'm saying it looks fake because of that, but that doesn't mean it is fake. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
and it picked up a baby too.
I didn't put much credence into it looking that, it looked natural to me, Rick. Plus the thing looked barrel chested and massive. Didn't you think?
It looked like a suit to me.
You know what it reminds me of? If you guys have ever seen the footage that the guy from the Honey Island swamp caught where his daughter released that film, it's very similar to the Freeman film.
Honey Island. Is that the one where
I've never seen that, Dee Dee. Are you saying there's footage from Honey Island?
Is that
when
it was pulling the tree apart?
The guy who took the footage, of course, has passed away. But his daughter, she was even on Monsters.
Oh yeah, that's the
America
one I did. I had that on my show where I showed you the dead Bigfoot at the end. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I didn't know this girl. I can't think of her name, but you probably, if you YouTube searched Honey Island Swamp Monster footage. Because that's what we call it, the Honey Island Swamp Monster.
Brown Dwarf, me and Nicole already have an agreement. Buzz off, buddy. Go ahead, sorry.
But there is actual footage, and it's very similar to the Freeman footage. It's farther away, and the girl's dad had this locked up in an attic somewhere. She was going through his things and found it and released it, and it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I don't know that I've ever saw the footage.
Yeah, I don't think I have either.
I remember hearing though about it being found, locked away, or whatever. I do. That rings a bell.
And it was like a 10mm camera, 8mm camera, video camera.
Yeah, Dee Dee, yeah, I did see that. I have seen that. That is really compelling video.
It's probably from the early 70s or something. I'm just guessing off the top of my head, but
yeah,
she
Rick,
was a little girl when it happened.
Yeah, Rick, you got to try to find that. That's pretty compelling. What did you think of that, Dee Dee?
I think it's real, the only reason I think it's real is because I live, 20 or so minutes away from Slidell and know a lot of people who live there and hear the stories,
Yeah, and you know, that time frame is before, you know, all the social media and, you know, all the bullcrap that we got going on.
Right. It's a lot like the Patterson film, but probably not as antiquated as that. It may, like I said, it may be early 70s if I'm just guessing off the top of my head from what films look like, you know, back then.
Let's see if I can find that real quick.
Amy, you ever see that? You ever see that footage?
No, I didn't see the footage, but I saw footprints or cast of footprints that they took, and they were peculiar. They didn't look like Bigfoot to me.
Oh, those were the ones that kind of look like chicken feet or something, big chicken feet or 3 toes. And
yeah, or like a crocodile or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Odd. I remember seeing something where they were talking about that. That looked easily fake to me, the footprints anyway.
Rick, if you can find that footage, it's pretty good. I'd like to know what you think about it. It is, I got to admit, it's pretty compelling.
It's pretty compelling. I mean, I can't say I believe it 100% because, you know, you really don't get a big reaction from the guy. In fact, there's no sound. I don't think there's any audio in that clip.
No, there's none. There's zero audio in it at all. But, you know, I kind of do put more credibility into the older stuff. Rick, you put a lot of credibility into the older stories, like from the turn of the last century, you know, on up?
Such as? I mean, I would have to listen to each one in case-by-case basis because
I'm sure you've studied stories. I can't pinpoint one in particular, but just like in general, do you put any more credibility into the older stories and accounts?
No, because I think the people still talked crap back then. I mean, look at the witches in Salem. You know, they killed how many women because they thought they were witches, and there was never any such thing as witches, but people, you know, they were all on the bandwagon about doing it, and oh, she's conjuring this and blah, blah, blah. And I think it was the same way as far as Bigfoot. What the hell was that? Anyway, I think it was the same thing with Bigfoot, is that sometimes it was people making something out of nothing. They might have heard somebody else talking about it. They said they want to talk about it, you know. So it's no different than it is today. You got to take it case-by-case basis. But, well, I don't know, because I think that newspapers were more likely to print those stories back then, whereas today they don't. You know what I mean? Not with any kind of focus on reality. You know what I mean? Nowadays it'd say, oh yeah, this crazy guy says he saw this. Whereas in the old days they'd say, so-and-so spotted this on this day doing this. You know what I mean? They took it more serious back then. So,
what are your thoughts on the trapper story? I can't remember his name, but you know, it's a well-known story. The trapper says he was taken and held for a week.
Yeah, that's one of my episodes.
Any thoughts on that?
That's one of my episodes. I read that story. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, I tend to believe it too. But I'll tell you, if it's made up, he really crossed his T's and dotted his I's, because the account in the story is pretty compelling.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I did an episode about it. It's back episode like 19 or 18 or something like that, where I read it and then I discussed it. But yeah, I was interested in what I brought up in that episode, is that it almost seemed like he was brought there. He was definitely brought there for one of two reasons: either for Sunday dinner, or because they wanted him to mate with the daughter, the younger female Bigfoot. Yeah, Albert Osman. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Albert Osman. Yeah, the Albert Osman case. And I believe you in that. Yeah, one of two reasons. Because I don't think he was snatched up just out of curiosity and taken back to a domicile.
I mean,
because that male actually took him back to the domicile.
Yeah.
But Albert Osman's feeling is that he felt that he was there to mate with the female.
Yeah, yeah. And that's my thing. I think that it was either he was there for Sunday dinner or he was there to meet with the daughter. And I tend to think it was to meet with the daughter. I think because, I mean, he walked for, I think, what did he figure? It was like 15 miles or more. It was like hours and hours and hours. And to get back to the family unit. And the entire time, they didn't run into another Bigfoot. So this family unit is out there, son and daughter. I mean, he's got to get rid of the daughter. You know, I think that was the father's perspective. He was like, I got to get her out of here. So I'm going to bring this dude home. He's going to mate with my daughter and get her the hell out of Dodge because there's too many mouths to feed. You know, I think it was, I'm being funny, but you know.
No, don't. You're not being funny. That could very well be the scenario. I mean,
well, I'm being funny, but I believe that was roughly the idea, you know. We don't know, J Cats. We have no idea if the daughter did want him because he threw snuff. No, he had one eat some snuff and got sick, and then he took off running. So never figured it out. But he said he figured the daughter to be about, in relation to a human, I think about 11 years old or 12 years old because she didn't have breasts yet. But he knew her to be a female, so he obviously lifted up her skirt.
Hey, I got something I want to ask everybody. Has everybody been getting updates from, I think it's Sasquatch Central on the 6-part series? I think it's up to the 6th part now on the family's 50-year experience with Bigfoot. Has anybody been getting those?
Who's 50 years?
Yeah, I've been getting them, but I haven't watched any of them.
What is it now?
I have too. I've been watching them. It's all about the Carter farm, right?
Yes, exactly. The Carter farm and their 50-year experience with a family of Squatches. And I think they're like up to part 6 now. I didn't know it was going to be that many parts. I listened to part 1 and 2, and it's pretty good. But they kind of discuss everything.
It gives you all the details from the history of the Carter farm till present day.
Bear Thug, I see that you just joined the server, but you're not in a room. You have to go into the town hall room.
Yeah, I'm trying to get everybody on here.
I haven't got past part 2. I can't believe there's 6 parts. There might even be 7 by now.
They go into a lot of detail, and I don't want to be a spoiler for anybody, but they go into a lot of detail about how Janice Carter's dad started all of this. And I don't necessarily know if he started it or him and the Bigfoot, whose name is what, Fox, right?
Yeah,
actually just bumped into one another or noticed one another, but the dad started bringing Fox food.
Yeah,
I don't know. I believe. I really believe it.
Yeah. I mean, in part 1, it started when the grandfather was a child and Fox was a child.
Okay, it's the grandfather. That's right. It was her. Yeah, because she calls him Papa in the interview, right?
Yeah, exactly. And the way I remember it, in part 1, they describe it as, back when, many years ago, the grandfather and Fox, when Fox was a child too, they ran into one another, and they just stayed
like lifelong friends, right? And they had respect for one another. In fact, in part 6, I did listen to it because a lot of people they're on the fence about whether they believe it or not, but I don't know, just the way that they tell the story. Who can make stuff like that up?
Yeah, sorry, Nicole. I just realized you've been sending me text messages.
Boy, how fascinating would that be, D, to have an experience like that?
I'd be scared to death because I want to say it was it part 4 or 5 after Papa died? Then she has to go into, is it the washroom or whatever? And Fox is in there. And she freaks because she's never been around him face to face, like that close. She said she had to get the lawnmower out of there. See, I'm spoiling it.
That's okay. I haven't. Because Fox would stay out around the back barn on the back property is right. But over the years, Papa, the grandfather, would supposedly take food scraps out, and it was a regular thing. And
right, to a tree that had a branch very close to the ground, so nobody else could see him, but you could see his arm reach for the plate. He'd eat the food. They had a pecking order for the way they ate the food. In fact, the grandmother cooked for the farm hands, and they took all the scraps. And then the grandfather, at one point, if they didn't have enough scraps, because Fox had a baby, right? They had a little one. The papa would go to restaurants to go collect scraps from them in order to feed his friend in his yard.
Yeah, that's really something. I'm gonna have to get caught up on all the parts. I got the
And I'll
part, like
tell
I
you
said.
something else. They have, I don't know if you caught this, but I had heard this years ago when I first heard
I'll be
about the
right
Carter
back.
farm. Okay, Rick. When I first heard about the Carter farm, it was really only mentioned. Like, I don't even know if anybody really did a long report on it, but I do know that in this series, she relates to whoever's interviewing her. There are photos that that family has taken of Fox in the background. I would love to know if she'll ever release those photos. Because Janice Carter, isn't she still living?
Yeah, that's really amazing. I want to ask you because I'm sure I heard it when I was listening to parts 1 and 2. But where is the Carter farm? You know?
I'm not sure. Does
I
anybody
think
else know?
it's Tennessee.
Okay.
Okay,
I'm
Tennessee.
gonna have to watch that series. That sounds like a good series.
That sounds about right.
Isn't it like a big place, Amy? Like a really big, I mean, this is what these people did for a living.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good sized farm. I don't remember the acreage right off the top of my head, but this is drawn from the book that Janice wrote, 50 Years with Bigfoot. So I
Right.
suppose you could check and see if that can be bought, maybe get more detail.
Yeah, maybe it's in the book. That's true. And
Yeah. Oh,
that's the name of the series. It's on YouTube. It's called 50 Years with Bigfoot.
I'm gonna try to get that book. If I get it, I'll keep everybody informed. I'm gonna try to find that book if it's out there.
Cool.
But they go into detail. I know in the parts that I've listened to, those Squatches do some pretty strange things, and they go into detail about it.
Yeah, didn't they talk about the noises they made and stuff like that? That's, not only just the way Janice tells the story, like I said, that's hard to make this kind of stuff up. But the noises that they made, if you think about all the different experiences other people have had and maybe sounds they've heard when they're around them, those clicking noises, barking noises, right?
Yeah, it's a multitude of different type noises. And when I'm out, I'm always in tune, looking, trying to hear stuff. I've heard some wood knocks before, stop me in my tracks, but
Oh,
that's
I
about
bet.
it.
If I heard wood knocks, because I like to hike sometimes. If I heard wood knocks now, I think I'd faint.
Yeah, I had a wood knock once stop me right in my track, and I know exactly what it was, and it stopped me right in my track. And I had my diamond with me; she was hiking with me, and she stopped in her track too. We just stood there a minute. I knew exactly what it was, but I've never heard of how. I've been trying to call out. I haven't got that yet.
You know what makes me wonder is, like, do they make different sounds in different regions? That's something to think about. Do they
I'm
howl
sure. I'm
different?
sure they do. Rick, any thoughts on that?
I think he had to run and do something. Somebody, I think, was trying to join.
Yeah, I think there's different tones, different grunts, and different vocal tones they use.
Yeah, I would have to think so. I would have to think it would vary from region to region, from squatch to squatch.
Well, Matt, have you heard howls also?
Yes, I have. When I was a kid, I heard god awful screams. Man, they're horrible. And I know what a bobcat is. I know what a mink sounds like, all that. This was nothing compared to what I heard.
And where was that at, Matt?
Lake County in Michigan.
Oh yeah, that's right. Up in Minnesota. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you did say that, mention that earlier. Yeah, I can just imagine up there.
Is that where LBL is? Is that in Michigan?
No, LBL is Land Between the Lakes. That's Kentucky and Tennessee state line, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's and Rick knows a lot about. If you want to know about LBL, get in a conversation with Rick because he can tell you all about it. But in my humble opinion, the Squatches that are in that area seem to be very aggressive, and they're very dangerous in that area. Is from what I take from it.
And
yeah, I hear they're real dangerous down in East Texas too.
Yeah.
I haven't heard East Texas, but I heard about there's some areas in the Smoky Mountains of North Carolina, and there's some areas in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California where, for whatever reason, the Squatches in those areas just seem to be extremely aggressive and very unpredictable.
Oh yeah, North Carolina's real hot.
Hey, Amy, where are you from?
I live in North Idaho now, but I was born and raised in Tennessee.
Awesome.
Wow, Amy, have you had any? Do you have any encounters that you can share with us?
I've never seen one. I have seen what I think was a track. When I was a child, I think I got zapped. And when the Patterson Gimlin film came along, I started, being interested in it and, found out that they do that kind of stuff to people. So I just went from there. And then there was another time after I got to Idaho that I think one was in close proximity because I stopped my car on a mountain road, and suddenly there was no smell when I got out, and just suddenly there was this god awful smell that just practically made me vomit, and I got the creeps and jumped back in the car and left. So that was odd because if it had been a dead animal or something, I would have smelled it when I got out.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, Amy, I got to say that's pretty compelling. That and
Incredible.
Idaho, I have to say, boy, you're right in it. You're in a ripe area, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Battle Mountain fire case in Nevada, where that giant forest fire, when forest officials were fighting a fire, we talked about this the other night, but a Squatch came out with burns like over 70% of its body, and they treated it. They actually released that Squatch in Idaho.
Is that right? I hadn't heard that. I did hear about the fire, but I didn't hear that.
Yeah. They after it was treated, they took that Squatch and released it in Idaho. They didn't release it back.
What year was that?
I can't. It hadn't been now that long ago. I mean, I want to say the Battle Mountain fire was 90s, maybe mid 90s. It's the time frame's not ringing a bell.
If somebody actually spotted it because of maybe markings on it from the burns, or makes you wonder, did it survive? Is it still around?
Yeah, I know that's one of the compelling cases that I've studied was that Battle Mountain case. That's pretty compelling, but I do know, and I thoroughly researched it. I know they released it up in Idaho. That's what the story says anyway.
Yeah, Nicole, I got your text message, but when I tried to open it, my cell phone, the battery died, so I'll have to check it out later. And see you later. Good night. Nicole, not everybody else. What did I miss? What was Amy talking about that was compelling? I was letting my dog out, getting coffee and everything else. Yeah,
Amy, tell him again.
What?
Oh, I had already told him that. Remember when I first came on telling you about when I was a kid thinking I got zapped, and then later on in Idaho when I was driving down the mountain and got out of my rig, and suddenly that god-awful smell overwhelmed me?
I think I remember something about the getting zapped, but I don't remember the smell and all that when you were.
Yeah, because we were talking about, you were asking me if it smelled like old.
Oh yeah,
raunchy hay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I do remember that now. Hold on, I have to go let my dog back in now.
What do they call it when they say they have the ability to do that? It's right on the tip of my tongue. It's the way they have the ability to shoot out those waves. What is that called again?
Infrasound.
Yes, infrasound. Yes, exactly. Infrasound, Amy. That's exactly it. You know, I hear they have the ability to do that. And have you done any study on that, since you feel that maybe you were caught up in that? Have you studied that at all?
I've read of accounts of other people having it hit them, and it was almost exactly what I felt. I was just a small child. I was maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 years old, something like that, and we lived on a creek down in the near the Mississippi River bottom. And you know, I was like a fearless kid. I was up and down that creek. My mom didn't know where I was all day, every day. And I was playing in the sand, digging a hole, and suddenly I just got really sick feeling, and I was just a sense of terror hit me. And I thought, I have to get away from here. And I remember standing up and trying to walk, and my legs just felt really heavy, and I could hardly make them move. It was just weird.
Yeah. They seem to think that maybe it's an ability they've developed in order to, capture prey.
Yeah, I think it works like they let that infrasound out, and it shocks the prey into fear and disorientation, and that's when they jump.
Yes,
I wonder
exactly.
why they decided not to eat me.
Yeah, that's really something. Personally, I've never experienced it. I've studied it a little bit, and I hope that on my many field adventures, I hope that I'm not zapped.
Yeah, it could be many things why it didn't attack Amy. I don't know. It could have been it heard somebody walking toward you or something. Anything could have done it.
Maybe it realized that, that. Well, I don't know, because they do seem to take a lot of children and humans, but maybe it realized that you weren't its prey that it wanted. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Maybe it realized it had made a mistake, or maybe that was one of the squatches that knew the difference of humanity, knew humans, and because I do believe that a lot of them are passive, but I think it's the rogue males and that you really have to worry about.
Yeah, the alpha males, I think, are the aggressive ones, and I think the females keep them in line.
Yeah, that very may well could be, but I think the most dangerous scenario is to encounter a rogue male that's young and has just been kicked out of the family unit. And Rick and I have discussed this, where we think that goes on, and it makes sense. You know, when a male comes of age, it's
right, like a wild teenager. You know,
it's booted out of the family unit to go on its own and create its own family. I think that male in that instant, when it's first on its own, oh boy, that's a scenario I don't think you want to run into.
Yeah, like his hormones kicked in real bad.
Well, not only that, but fear. Now it has to survive on its own, and if it hasn't really learned how to hunt, I think that's when they become the rogues that go after children and old people and that kind of thing, because they got to eat.
Yeah, I think a lot of the dangerous cases that we've all studied and heard of over the years, I think those are involving rogue males.
Janice Carter Coy goes into some of that about one of Fox's offspring. I think that was in episode 6, but a young male.
One of the offspring became rogue, and and was going after
Well, he
people?
didn't. I don't think he became rogue, but he was coming of age and getting ideas, and he started. Well, I'll be giving the whole thing away, but.
Now, what'd you say
Don't
this
worry.
is?
Okay, go ahead.
This is on YouTube. It's called Carter Farm. Is that what you said?
No. Janice Carter Coy wrote a book called 50 Years with Bigfoot.
Oh, it's not.
I believe it
videos?
was from East Tennessee. Her grandfather started feeding them, and they were habituated and all that. And
Well,
then she kind of
you were talking
involved.
episodes. Where's the episode thing part of that?
Rick, right now they're on Sasquatch Central. If you subscribe to that,
Is that on YouTube or where is that?
it's a site just like yours. It's on YouTube.
Oh, it is.
And
okay.
Yeah, and they're like at part 6 now, but they've been sending me updates almost daily, new episodes and whatnot, and it's pretty fascinating. Like I said, I got through parts 1 and 2, but I think, should research it. It'll take you some time to get through it, but I recommend it.
Is it Sasquatch Central or Sasquatch Central 2?
No, it's Sasquatch Central or Chronicles. Sasquatch Central, right, guys?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for something.
Rick, Beer Thug is having trouble getting on, and Brown Dwarf can't open his with a Mac or something.
Oh, somebody said that yesterday. One of you guys said that you had to close it and reopen it, and then it worked. Was that true to form, or one of you guys?
It might have been me. I had to do all kinds of stuff, but then I was in there. Now it's not a problem at all.
I'm trying to get Brown Dwarf to get on with us because he's squatching right now. I want to hear some of his audio.
Okay.
Yeah, I really want to talk to Brown Dwarf. I wish you'd interview him.
But I think Beer Thug really wants to join us too, so we got to get him in here.
He didn't have talk rights. I see that he did get on here, but I just gave him talk rights. So if he comes back in, he should be good to go as long as he has his microphone enabled. Let's see, who else? There's somebody named Jude in here, but I ain't heard anything about them or seen them, so I'm gonna...
Yeah, you just got to play around with the app to get it to work. That's what I did.
Yeah. Who else? Who's Skipper? Skipper's on here, evidently. It says he's online, but I don't see him on the list. I see him over.
So, Dee, you said Brown Dwarf is actually out right now doing research?
He's out squatching right now. So I was like, you need to get in here with us in the after show and let us hear some audio.
Yeah.
I actually thought about doing that myself.
I think he can do a video call, and actually, I think this does that. I know it does phone calls, but I think there's video in here because it has had me select my camera. So yeah.
Brown Dwarf's in a hot area, Bluff Creek.
I wonder if he's got a team or he's by himself.
All right, so Beer Thug, you now can come in here. You should be fine. Skipper, I just enabled you for voice. I don't know why I'm not seeing you anywhere other than the list. I don't see him actually over here in a room. That's kind of strange. And who else was it? I guess that was Jude. Yeah, Jude, if you're around, I gave you talk privileges as well.
So, what does everybody think about the recognition of the species? Do you ever think it'll come out? Rick, what do you think about that? Do you ever think it'll be recognized at some point ever?
Yeah. I think that the evidence to have it recognized is going to be out very soon. Now, whether the government will fight that tooth and nail at that point and try to keep it under wraps a little longer or not is another story. You know, it just depends on how it comes out. I think like people in the Bigfoot community are going to be talking very soon about how, it's been proven absolutely by scientists and everything, but they still won't recognize it. And the rest of the world will be completely oblivious to it. And then some years are going to go by before finally the Bigfoot community is going to win, and the government's finally going to say, all right, yeah, here it is. You know, I think that's...
Yeah, but then where do the researchers go from there, though? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Researchers will be out of a hobby because then at that point the real scientists will take over, you know.
And so then all the non-believers will maybe believe, or at least be presented with something solid.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it'll affect us in any way. I mean, for our own personal satisfaction and gratification, we can still go out and do research and try to cite, you know.
I don't think so.
To get the sighting.
I think the government is going to pass laws. Once it's recognized, I think the government is going to say, for the protection of the species, only specific, you know, authorized researchers are allowed to go into these areas. Everybody else, you got to stay away from them. I think that's what's going to happen.
It's going to be a total drag.
Well, I mean, Squatches go where Squatches want to go. We could go camping this weekend, and I mean, what's stopping a Squatch? From what they do right now, the behavior that they have right now, going into a campsite.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they walk up into your property, there's nothing they can do about it. But as far as people going out, like, to specific hot spots, I don't think they'll be able to do that anymore. I think they're going to try and shut that down until they have a really good handle on it. And especially if they do turn out to be some kind of sentience, some kind of other being with rights, because they're going to say, well, these things have the right to live in peace, and you can't be out there, you know, treating them like fish in a fish tank. You got to leave them alone. I think that's what they're going to say. But if they come around your place, there ain't nothing nobody can do about that, you know.
So you're saying they'll create stronghold areas for the protection of Squatches, and it'll be off limits to humanity.
I think it'll be running a lot of people off, too.
They've already started that. I mean, if you've heard about, I forget what the name of it, but it's out there. It's called something paper or papers. And it's where somebody did a government report that was submitted to, I don't know if it's Fish and Wildlife or whatever. And it's supposed to be, it's an entire plan. It's like a 20-year plan to go to get protect the Bigfoot, all the way up to the very end where they actually admit that they're real. And it involves them, you know, they've been swapping land with lumber companies, and then they put fences around the land. They've put a lot of fences up in, like Mark Zasky talked about down in Florida. He actually, when he was young, he helped them build one of them. He got a job as a fencer. And this is like a 20-year plan that was put out there. And according to Mark Zasky, because he had read this thing and because he was involved in building the fence and all that, and he sees it down in Florida in the Everglades, that they're starting to say you can't go in certain areas and stuff that used to be able to just go there all the time. And he says it's pretty close to the end of the 20-year plan. So they're supposed to admit that they're real anytime now. So
the first phase is getting the protection, and then okay. So
hey, Skipper, you have to activate your microphone.
I think Rick has to do that. Skipper's in, Rick.
All right, hold on. Let me make sure you're not muted. If my mouse will cooperate. Nope, he's not muted. It's on his end.
Yeah, Rick, I heard that about the swapping the land. I heard about that exactly. Also, do you think that with all the social media in today's world,
sorry to interrupt, but that was the Miller document you're talking about.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I couldn't remember the name.
I'm gonna have to look at that's really interesting to me. I'm gonna have to look into that myself. But do you think with all the social media now and surrounding Squatch and all the shows, and you know, if this is a topic that the government is keeping a lid on, and do you think with all the social media that's going on now, like with these shows, your show, the shows, everything that's going on, You think this is kind of their way of softening us up?
Yeah, soft disclosure.
What do you mean by softening us up?
Well, I mean, if they're keeping a lid on this, but they're allowing all this out, they're allowing us to discuss this, they're allowing us to do this, to do that. Maybe actually this is their way of slowly disclosing. You think that might be a possibility?
No, because we're the ones doing it, not them. You know, if you've listened to my, if you watched my show about MIB and conspiracy, I think that's a bunch of crap. They're not shutting anybody up. All they're doing is losing paperwork and keeping it under wraps as best as they can officially. They're not going and threatening people and all that stuff. So, you know, what we do is what we do. You know, I mean, I had a security clearance and all this. If they were going to tell anyone to shut up, they'd tell me to shut up. Because somebody could take something, like I said in my thing, something very small that I say, and because of what I used to do in my security clearance, they could say, that means that they could use that small thing to try and verify some other thing, you know, conspiracy thing. And the government would be afraid of that. So the fact that they haven't said anything to me means that they're just not doing that.
Hey, Rick, I just sent you a link to the Miller document. You know, they have pictures in there. Well, the link that I have. And the picture, I just saw a couple of pictures of what you're talking about, that type of Sasquatch everybody gets mixed up for dogmen.
What now? Do you have pictures of dogmen?
It looked like a creature with a snout.
I
just emailed it to you if you can pull it up.
Yeah, you sent me 2 emails. Well, this one still has the old.
I'm gonna have to research that stuff.
Here it is. There it is. Hold on.
Hey, Dee Dee, can you email me that stuff?
Of course. I need your email address.
Yeah, it's brettjosephevans@gmail.com. That's
Hey,
Brett
careful,
Joseph Evans, all
careful.
one word.
This is for the whole world to hear, dude. You know, it's not just us.
I'll send it to you.
My YouTube video.
Yeah, I know, but you know what? I have nothing to hide.
Well, as long as
I know what you're saying.
I thought maybe you forgot that, and I was trying to catch you before you said, you know, saying, go, oh my God, I didn't mean to do that. You know, that kind of thing. All right, what am I?
You can trust me and Amy and Matt.
Yeah,
and Rick.
But the rest of the internet.
Me and Amy are Southern girls, and then Matt's from California.
But the rest of the internet is going to watch this video in perpetuity. So.
Oh, that's true. I forgot.
Yeah. See, you forgot.
Maybe I just shot myself in the foot. Anyway, but hey, you know, I'm down here in Florida, and I'm drawing a blank on the national forest that's just north of me in the northern part of the state. Does anybody know what I'm talking about? The giant forest that's in North Florida.
The one where they shot that thermal footage. Yeah, I don't know the name of it either.
It's a well-known name. I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. It's I
don't know. For some reason, Cypress jumped into my mind. Is it something Cypress?
No. The Great Cypress Swamp is in South Florida, just north of the Everglades. That's below me.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, Mayaca flows into that. But no, I'm talking about the pine forest that's in just outside Gainesville.
Yeah, I know where you're talking about. That's where somebody said their name a minute ago, and I forgot what it was. The 2 guys, the father and the son, shot the thermal footage in there. But I don't know the name of it. No, could probably look it up pretty quick.
But that's a hotbed. They're in there. I think you know, you had just mentioned those fences that they're putting up. I think that's an area where they're doing that as well.
Is that Apalachicola?
No, that's in the Panhandle. Apalachicola is actually a city and a river in the Panhandle that actually flows up into Georgia. No, this is in the center of the state. Hold on a minute. I'm going to look it up.
Is it Ocala?
It has to be Ocala.
Yes, exactly.
I'm looking at a map.
Ocala National Park. Is that what it is? Or National Forest or something like that? That's actually... Because Ocala is a city. But I do think it is a park as well.
Ocala, just south of Gainesville. I've been there a few times, and that's a massive... That forest is ginormous in size. But, Rick, those fences you mentioned, I think that's an area where they're doing it.
So, Dee Dee, are you talking about these two bluish pictures that are really pixelated and somebody tried to draw an
Yeah.
outline?
Yeah, what is that? It looks like a short snouted Bigfoot.
I don't know. It just could be a regular Bigfoot because the one I saw, the nostrils were really flared. Even the one I did back here the nostrils didn't come out right because of my hands. I just left it because I said, that's good enough, you know. But if you ever saw the black guy that was in Good Times, played the father, and his nose comes almost straight down, and it looks almost like the tip of his nose is mashed back towards his face and his nostrils are flared way the hell out. Do you know who I'm talking about? He also played the gay lover of Charlie's or somebody's father.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah, I know exactly I know exactly who you're talking about. He does have that flat nose.
Can you let them see those pictures, or well, it's on the internet, so
yeah, you could just well, they're not very good though.
I mean, I don't know.
They're blob squatches big time.
Pictures or why they're in there, but
I'm trying to say, it's sent by Bill Emery. He admits it is fuzzy, but one can just make out a face. I've drawn what I think the face. This is not one of the clear and sharp photos that will be released. That will be released? This just gives
hey, Rick, I think you got to unmute Skipper.
Skipper? No, I already checked. I told him it's on his side. He has to go into his settings and probably do the the push to talk setting, because he's not muted on my side. He's good to go. Wait a minute, he is in the group, isn't he? I'm pretty sure he is. Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's fine from the server side. This is interesting. It says this is not one of the clear and sharp photos that will be released. Huh.
for a second though, I thought it was a bear. It kind of looks like a bear too.
No, I think it is a Bigfoot. But I mean, it's a blob squatch, but I can easily see, you know, the Bigfoot in there, unlike some of the pictures I was talking about a minute ago where it just looks like a bunch of leaves. But
then if you scroll down some, they have some pictures of it. Looks like a group of loggers on something called Burnt Mountain.
Bunch of loggers.
Other than the photographs that y'all are discussing, is there a lot of information in the transcripts?
Oh yeah.
Oh, this is the Miller doc. This is actually on the Squatch Detective's WordPress site.
Steve Coles, right?
Yeah. So if you go to squatchdetective.wordpress.com and then /tag / the Miller document with dashes between the words, you'll get here. That's what I'm looking at.
Hey, does Steve still do any researching?
He mostly tries to, I think he does, but he mostly tries to debunk so-called researchers' crap when they're really hoaxing or trying to make something out of nothing. That's what I see him do most of the time. Now,
I know about that guy. I've heard of that name.
He actually did a thing where he was debunking Todd Standing's photos of a Bigfoot, of the photos, the Muppet photos and all that.
The Muppet.
Yeah, and I watched the thing where he was debunking it, and he was talking. The reasons he gave for debunking it, he was completely wrong. He was talking about the photos and how he went into the metadata, and the metadata said this kind of lens was used or whatever, and he said that means that it was I forget what he said. I think he said that means it was taken from, or no, he said it was taken from a video, still taken from a video. If that was the case, there would not be metadata. Completely wrong. Because when you have a high-end camera that's taking video, you can actually hit the button and make it take a still frame at the same time, and it'll do that. So I didn't argue with the guy, because in the end he was just debunking something I thought was crap anyway. He just had his reasons were wrong, you know. So you said down below there's something about loggers. Oh, here they are.
Yeah, scroll down and then there's like 2 photos of loggers from something called Burnt Mountain. I'm just got a hunch that's got something to do with a sighting or an incident. I didn't read it.
Yeah, I was just checking the chat real quick. Photo of piece of dock, 6 loggers shown. It's saying who they are. They're on a tractor, or a bulldozer rather. And that's pretty much it. It doesn't say anything about Burnt Mountain. In this picture, anyway.
Hey, Skipper, why can't you talk?
Oh, wait a minute. Skipper, you can text, which okay, I'm not sure what to do.
Okay.
He's texting. Are y'all reading the texts in here? Can you see those?
I'll go check.
Can you see the text in the Discord? Because Discord,
yeah, I can
even
see it.
Talking,
I'm reading it now.
Yeah.
Okay, Skipper, you need to go up to. Have you already accepted the invite?
Yeah, he's in here, so he's good to go. He just has to change his settings.
You need to go up to the top right and go to voice settings. Once you hit voice settings, you need to go down to push to talk. There's a list, and you hit push to talk, and then you should be able to push this button to talk. It's just like a walkie-talkie. And as long as you want to talk, you keep your finger on the button.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to read the whole thing to see what the pertinence of this Burnt Mountain thing is.
And I forgot True to Form's email address, and I don't want him to say. Hey, True to Form, you can no. Can he put it in the chat? I mean not the chat, the messages.
Yeah, he can do that. Only the people in here will see it. And I think
where's messages? I don't understand.
If you go like your little go back button on your go back your screen, you'll still have the push to talk button. You can still hear us. Are you on your phone?
Oh yeah, I see it. I see it. I'm in that now. Yeah, okay.
Put your email address in there for me.
And then you can delete it afterwards, or if you can, I know I can. So
we'll keep you safe. Oh no, Skipper's going.
Yeah, he said he doesn't know what to do. So, I mean, it's unfortunate that. See, the people on Twitch, they all know how to use Discord because they're all gamers, and gamers use this all the time. And then there's some guys, there's actually other people on YouTube that have channels that use Discord a lot too for basically the same kind of thing I'm doing. But I guess it's not as, well known as I thought it was. Because I kind of thought that at least half the people would say, oh yeah, I got Discord.
Oh, can you see that, Dee?
Oh, Skipper, you have to go back into Town Hall because you might have fixed your settings, but you can't tell because you're no longer in the room. You have to go back into the Town Hall and then try your push to talk. I think he can hear me. I don't know. He won't hear me in here. If he's got his YouTube off, he'd hear me. Can you hear me, Skipper? Put in the messages, yes or no. Or, well, if he says no, I'll be quite shocked.
No, he's not in the voice channel anymore. He did something.
Yeah, well, somehow he's texted, but he's not in here. Because he texted that he tried push to talk, and it says slow on the learning curve, sorry. But unless...
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah, I see that in the messages as well.
Because that came up after you put your email in there. So he posted it after he was no longer in here. So I don't see how he did that. That's great. Unless he's just not showing up in the list for some reason. He's still online.
He says, tried push to talk. Slow on the learning curve. Sorry.
Oh, here, I can message him directly. Hold on.
He was almost there.
Yeah, just like Amy. She finally got it. I'm sure he will.
She didn't give up. Don't give up, Skipper.
I feel your pain, Skipper.
Okay, true. I just sent that to you.
Yeah, so hey, this message board that I'm on, is this the chat room as well?
Yeah,
no, that's just us, right?
You mean the YouTube chat room?
Yeah, I'm seeing everybody on here. I'm seeing Skipper, I'm seeing Beer Thug, I'm seeing two other people too. Or were they on here and are gone now?
Yeah, it says they're offline, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. So this isn't the chat room, right?
This isn't YouTube, no. This is just for texting. Just the people in here can see it. And actually, this stays. So, like, whatever you text, this will be here for weeks. So, once she gets your email address, I think you can delete it if you go over. Well, I
got it, Rick. In fact, whoever wants to delete it, can go ahead and do it.
All right, I'll do it.
I sent it already. True.
Yeah, I got the notification. You can, Rick. You can take that off of there if you want.
All right, hold on. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about none, but if you think I'd be compromised, do it.
Yeah, I wouldn't want my email out there. I mean, you'll get all kinds of crap happen. People try to use it to crack your passwords to get into things, and I mean, it's all kind of stuff.
Can they actually do that dumb shit? I mean, I got a lot of security measures up.
Well, I had somebody break into my Netflix account using my Google Gmail. So, the one I was using was.
Let's all get back on subject here. Hey, has anybody heard anything about a supposed attack on a couple of fishermen in Ohio?
No, I haven't heard anything about that.
Oh wait, how long ago was that?
Well, it's on one of the programs, and I first stumbled on it within the last year.
Did the guy call like within the day? Was it the Cryptid Brothers of Pennsylvania?
No,
is it Pennsylvania?
No. Hold on a minute. Hold on.
Oklahoma, but I mean,
no, DD. Yeah, you're right. It was the Cryptid Brothers, and they're out of Oklahoma. And yeah, when I first studied that case, I thought it was really compelling, but I don't know what to think about it anymore.
Well, the call sounded pretty realistic. I don't know if you remember the guy's call. It was pretty emotional. I don't know.
I'm starting to be up and down with the Cryptid Brothers.
Did anybody else hear anything? Oh, well, wait a minute now. They haven't been on in a while, so, I mean, and I like them. I pretty much enjoyed most of the accounts they told, but the bad thing is when people go off like that for a long time, they're getting ready to say, it'll only cost you $9.99 a month.
Yeah, like Wes did.
Yeah, well, I know. I haven't got an update from the Cryptid Brothers in a long time. I haven't heard nothing from them.
But it's been a few months. But then they did say they were coming out with something new. They were doing something or whatever. I don't know.
They were trying to sell a bunch of crap. Did you see that stuff they were trying to sell?
Well, like T-shirts and hoodies.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong.
Hey, Rick, where are your T-shirts and hoodies?
I was actually thinking about doing that with that picture, and it says "Wanted, Dead or Alive."
I know everybody loves that.
Well, my picture, the "Wanted, Dead or Alive."
I'd wear a hat though. Like I'd want a hat.
Well,
I want a V-neck T-shirt.
Hats, hoodies. I was gonna do all kinds of stuff, and you can do it to where it's on a as people buy it, I don't have to get a bunch of stock, you know, and then force it down everyone's throat. I just say, hey, if you want it, here it is. And they can order it or
and have
not
like
order
an
it.
online store or something.
Yeah, and they can order it.
Camouflage hat.
Rick, I'd love to have a black hoodie, bro. I don't know about the dead or alive, but I'd love to have one that says hypotheses with the image that you have.
Okay, so
Yeah,
so write that down,
too.
Rick. Me and Matt both want hats. I'll take a camouflage too with Matt. And then Amy wants a V-neck T-shirt, and then True to Form wants a hoodie.
Actually, Nicole told me I should use, if y'all are still looking at the YouTube thingy, the one where it's like looking to the side, the one that's on my stream starting soon. Or I'll put that
Oh,
up.
yeah.
Put that up real quick. She says that's the creepiest one. That's the one I should use to make a T-shirt out of. In addition to my own.
They got to be affordable, bro.
Well, they'll build whatever they are. I don't know. I'm not going to set anything other than normal price for them. So.
The one with the longest hair?
Well, if you're looking, it's on there right now. If you're looking at it. It's the one that's at the very first screen. It's
Beer Thug said fridge magnets.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, there you go. Hey, it could be a way to support the program, Rick. But hey, Rick, I've been wanting to ask you, what's the backstory behind that? In your opening segment, the 411 call or the 911 call where the guy's got one in his yard.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
There's a guy in Washington State. I think it was back in the early 80s. He called the police 2 weeks in a row. What you hear in the opening, I actually have to try and recover that from my hard drive that died. Well, I have another way of getting it, but I need to put it back on there. But that was the second call. The first call, he called them because his dog, he had a German Shepherd, I believe it was. He heard thud, and his dog come flying over the privacy fence and hit the ground dead. And he called the police because somebody killed his dog. He didn't know what happened. Then the very next week is when he did that call, and there was a Bigfoot in his yard, you know. And I think it was Ron Moorhead that got the 911 audio. And he actually talked to the guy.
I never heard anything about the dog. I'm glad you told me about that. That's the first I heard about that.
Yeah, his dog was killed. He said he was out there. He heard the dog, and then he said it sounded like something picked his dog up and slammed it against the ground, and it went thud. And then it came flying over the fence, like somebody had just threw his dog over the fence.
Oh my God! Can you imagine that? That's insane. Washington too. Washington State.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I tell you,
because my dogs are like family, man. I see that happen. Something's going to pay for it.
I hear you there. I hear you there, Matt. I'm the same way. You know, I really don't want to put one down, but in that case like that scenario, one's going down.
Yeah, Helen, I don't know what happened with the cop when the cops showed up. I heard Ron Moorhead talking about it. I forget. It was probably on Sasquatch Chronicles, but it could have been some other show. And he talked about the first week and the second week, but he never did talk about what might have happened when the cops showed up. So I have no idea. But he talked to the guy about it. He went out there, actually, and he looked and investigated and all that stuff. And he said the guy will not do interviews. He doesn't want to have anything to do with it. So that's why nobody's ever been able to interview the guy. And that was the end of it. He never did talk about what happened. So,
you know, what makes that story credible to me is that it's an actual 911 recording.
Yeah.
And that's just something you just can't fake.
That's why I put it in there. It's one of my favorite evidences, I guess. And, you know, it makes a great intro. And now I guess Sasquatch Chronicles uses it. So. Or he was a while back. I don't know if he still is. No. The guy doesn't sound like Moorhead. Ron Moorhead is the one who actually got the 911 recording. That's how it ended up out in the world. And Ron Moorhead went and investigated the case, and Ron Moorhead talked to the guy. I'm not saying that the guy sounds like Ron Moorhead. There's somebody in chat said that. I don't know if you all see this. He said the guy did sound like Moorhead.
I don't know, but how can you fake a 911 call? That'd be a criminal charge, wouldn't it?
Well, no,
yeah,
not to fake it. No. But if you called in with a fake report, yes. But if you made like just a recording that sounded like a real call, that wouldn't be illegal. But I don't think that's what it was. I think that was a real 911 call. And the fact that the guy's never been interviewed, doesn't want to be interviewed, you know, that just backs it up.
You know, if you listen to that whole thing, and it's in your intro, the way he just says, "What's he doing? He's looking at me."
Yeah, somebody, Beer Thug, just said that in the chat. He quoted that. That's, I guess, he says it cracks him up. I'd love to have been a fly on the wall when he was having that conversation, you know, and just watch the whole scene unfold.
I don't know. I'd shit my pants if I looked out mine.
What?
And saw something like that staring, you know. Well, kind of like you, Rick, you actually had that happen.
What? The one looking in the window?
Well, when you had that, when you were younger, when you saw that squatch through the window, I mean.
Yeah. I didn't catch what I was reading. What did you say before that? That something about...
That would have been an interesting 911 call.
Yeah, I mean...
What was from a movie? That 911? No, it wasn't. That's a real 911.
Well, we're talking about your experience, Rick.
Yeah, no, I'm answering somebody in chat. They said it was from a movie. I said, no, it wasn't. It's not from a movie. It's a real 911 call.
Hey, Rick, I know your window peep happened years and years ago, but do you ever just sit back and close your eyes and try to envision everything that happened, like to try to bring that vision back in detail?
I still have it, almost like PTSD. Especially since I have this one that screams out. Well, it hasn't been around in a while, but when that thing was screaming every night, you know, and I was actually living here by myself. This was right after I got out of the hospital and everything. And, you know, just there's no curtains on some of the windows, and I'm walking by the window, and it's almost like PTSD. I look at the window and I go, I don't want to look at the window. So I look away. Then you have to look at the window, you know, to make sure it's not there. And then but I don't care if it's there. I don't want to look at, you know, so you have this little internal conflict. So yeah, that still goes on.
Did you feel any sort of PTSD or have trouble sleeping after that happened to you?
Well, that when I was still there, yeah. But see, it kind of went away. You know, I let it go because I wasn't thinking Sasquatch at the time. I was thinking it was just a weird situation. There was a weird something or other. I have no idea what it was. And that's it, because I went back to Boston. I only spent the summers down there. And then the next year when I went back down, she didn't live in that house anymore. She lived in a mobile home up on the Creek Road. And I'm like, well, that's history, you know. So I kind of forgot about it until later when it hit. What happened was I saw the bus, not the bus, but the model, I guess you'd call it, that what's his name? He was doing of a Gigantopithecus, and he's the one who did the Patterson Gimlin film. He digitized it and all that. I forget his name. He used to do movie makeup or special effects and stuff. Well, anyway, he did a Gigantopithecus, and I saw it in a magazine. And when I saw it, it was tipped exactly, well, like the one that I have on my screen right now. It was kind of tipped to the side. And I instantly had a flashback to that night when I was in the kitchen, because it looked enough like it that I remembered it. And as soon as I remembered that, I went, holy smokes, that's what that was, you know. And that was like, I don't know, 30 years ago. So
yeah. So And that makes sense. At the time, you were a young man doing with the mentality of a young man and doing what young men do. You weren't thinking Squatch at the time.
No, but once I realized it, that's when the PTSD hit. Because I was like, holy smokes, now I know what that was. And then I thought about the thing that was paralleling me in the woods. I figured it was a black bear or something. Well, now I know. And then they were having, I slept in the car with my buddy, and he had his feet out the window. And because he had come down just before we were going back to Boston, just to spend the last few days I was there. And this was the next year. And they were talking about how there were bears going through everyone's garbage. And so I told him, he had his feet out the window because it was hot. And I said, if you feel something licking your feet, don't worry about it. It's just a black bear. And he jerked his feet in real quick and rolled the window up. Well, thinking back about it, I'll bet that was Bigfoot going through people's trash, because that was the very next year.
I guarantee it.
And they were just saying it was a black bear because that's what so many people say. They think, it must have been a bear. You know what I mean? And I think that's what it was. That there was a Bigfoot, maybe the same one, going through people's garbage. And then, years later, I had the White Mountains incident where the Bigfoot was watching me take a leak in a creek bed. So, but the worst one is when it looked in the window, because I still remember that vividly. I kind of guess blocked it out for a long time because it was just one of those crazy, creepy things that happens to you and you just let it go until I realized what it was, and then I haven't been able to get rid of it since. So.
Yeah, so I guess what I was asking, to this day, you can close your eyes and put that image into your head, and you can remember what the eyes look like, the nose, the face, the skin, all that.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest thing that I remember vividly is the texture of the skin, which I do not have correct in mine. In my picture, this 3D version I've made, I really need to work on the skin texture a little bit to get it right. But the thing I remember vividly was the skin texture, because it had lines that went vertically up and down his face. And I don't have that on there. I tried to put it in there, but it didn't really come out right. The one that's on the screen right now has these 3 little lines like on the side of its mouth. That was when I was trying to, and it came out too deep. So then I made it shallower, and then it completely vanished, which is why on the one behind me, it doesn't have any lines at all.
So do you mean like lines like weathered, old age, that type thing?
Not really. It was more like it gave it a sense of leather. You know what I mean? But the lines were vertical.
I know exactly what you mean, and that makes sense.
And then,
hey, Rick, have you ever thought about getting one of those creature artists to do a rendering of what you're talking about?
No, because I'm an artist, and I did it myself. So,
well, because there's one lady, I want to say her name is Sibylla. If you look up Sibylla's art, she does Bigfoot sketches from witnesses, and I mean just go look at her page. It's unbelievable. She sketches. It's a sketch actually, so I don't know.
I might be able
to
get somebody like that to do a texture for me to add to my 3D model.
Right. Maybe you guys can work together, because she really does a great job. And any of y'all that are in the after show here with us, if you get a chance to look up, I don't know what her last name is, but I know her first name is Sibylla.
I think it's Irwin.
Is it Irwin? Okay. And what about you, Amy? Did you have any like aftershocks from those screams you heard?
I didn't hear any screams.
Oh, I thought I know you said you saw footprints, right?
No, I saw one footprint, or I thought it was a footprint. It was only a partial.
Hey, Rick, when you had that window peep, what was the size of that face of that Squatch? I mean, did it take up a good portion of the window, or you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, it must have, because even though I've done like the entire head on this one, I don't know if you're looking at what I'm pointing at right now, but the one that's usually behind me on the screen, the one that looks straight forward, I actually could only see from just above the brow ridge to just below the mouth. The top of the window was on the top and the bottom of the window was on the bottom. So that's how big his face was. Because this was one of those, not double sash window, it was a single sash window. The ones in the farmhouses that you see, they're like at the top of the wall, if you know what I'm talking about.
That had to be a big old male.
Yeah.
I know. How big do you think his head really was?
I never thought, I actually want to go back there. My family still lives there. I could go back to that house, but I haven't been there in so long that I need to go back up there. But now that I was actually going to go there on my way to Florida, and then this happened. I got hospitalized and crippled up, and so I actually haven't been back there yet. But I plan to, because I actually want to go back to that house and video, because the house is still there right now, and video the whole area and like where I was, where the Bigfoot was, and all that stuff. And
I remember when you were on your way to Florida, and then you somehow ended up in Bama.
Well, I got hospitalized. I was in the hospital for 2 months, and when this MS hit me, and when I first went in there, the nurses literally had to help me just roll over in the bed because I was so bad. And you know, then they said I might never walk again, and blah blah blah. And so now, where I'm at right now, when I first got here back in December, I didn't think I would ever walk as good as I am now, because that's how bad I was. But I've gotten better. So now I have higher hopes for being even better by next spring, and maybe be able to get around and walk around. You know, because I wouldn't even be able to, if I went to that house, even now, I would probably have a hard time just walking around the house, because it's an old farmhouse and it's uneven ground all over the place. The mountain actually comes right down to the kitchen door, you know, and to the point where, because they have a lot of red clay, where the mountain, because it goes straight up pretty much from the back of the house, the clay has, over the years, the decades, kind of oozed down to the house. And it's now, the ground is actually built up probably close to a foot higher than where it was when the house was built.
Oh yeah, I understand that.
So the ground
makes you wonder how many times that creature was looking in the window.
Yeah.
Of that house.
Hey, you know, Rick, I'll just bet you would love to go there just to get a good look at that window. I just bet that's probably.
Yeah, that's what I said. I'm dying to go back there so that I can see and get a better idea of, like what you said, exactly how big was its head. Because at the time, I thought it was a person. And I thought, you know, something's weird. You know, something was weird about why I couldn't identify who it was. But I was so into trying to identify who the person was that I didn't think to look at, holy shit, look how big his head is, you know, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, even to go inside, what was it, the kitchen?
Yeah.
And be where you were to look out that window from that position.
Yeah, and I want to video it so I can put it up on my channel and show people exactly where I was, because this is an old farmhouse. I mean, it really give you the idea of what the area was and how squatchy it is.
So, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask. But you said that squatch was actually looking up in the window, right in the window. He wasn't like standing 3 feet off the window. He was actually right up on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I can remember how his head was. You know, if you look at the one that I have up right now, that's the angle when he looked at me. But when he was looking in the window, I remember his face like was right up to the glass. And he had to look down. It was like he couldn't tip his head forward and look through the glass for some reason. And I remember at the time thinking he had his head against something. Like, I was thinking that the roof came down and he was trying to squeeze his head underneath the soffit, and that's why he could. But when I look at the Google Earth version, the roof doesn't go that way. It actually goes the opposite. The pitch of the roof is not in that direction, so that he shouldn't have had anything. But I remember when I saw him in the window, that's what it looked like. It looked like he had his head against something, so he couldn't tip it forward. It was like straight up and down. And he was looking like he just had his eyes looking down to the extreme, to where you could see the whites. And then when he looked at me, it was really creepy. It was like he was looking. It's like if you try to look at the tip of your nose, or like if you stick your tongue out and you try to look at your tongue. That extreme is how he had his eyes looking down and to the left at my cousin Teresa. And then when he looked at me, all he did was like flick his eyes to the right. So he was still looking at me like that. It was really, really creepy.
So you're saying that maybe he was taller than the window?
No, the window would have only been 6 feet off the ground. So I can't figure, that's what I'm saying. I can't figure out what he was doing on the other side of that wall. All I know is that his head was in an odd position.
Yeah. So you said it looked like he was ducking under some soffit. Does the house actually have soffit?
No, that's what I said. The soffit's not there. It actually, the pitch goes to the, like if this, let's say he's on the south side of the house. I don't remember exactly, but let's say he's on the window is on the south side of the house. He's looking in the window. The pitch of the roof goes east and west, not north and south. So there wouldn't have been soffit there, but that's what it looked like when I was looking at him. It looked like he had his head against something because it was kind of tipped funny. So I can't figure out why he was like that. So I'd like to go back and look at the outside to see what in the hell was keeping him from looking through the window like a normal person would, you know. He had his head in a funny position.
Maybe he was squatting down.
Well, let's see. If he was squatting down and given his bulk, if he had to lean forward. Yeah, but see, he could have tipped his head forward.
That whole story is a trip, man. I'll tell you, it's kind of spooky.
Yeah, and I don't understand the way his head was and the way he was looking with his eyes was very creepy. And I can't figure out why he had his head like that.
Well, the way you describe it, man, with, that's just how animals do it too. They won't move their head, but they'll move their eyes. And you said you had got the feeling that he probably thought he couldn't be seen. He was checking your cousin out, checking you all out.
Yeah.
And then when your cousin looked at you, he looked at you. That's a trip.
Yeah, Kay Stevens, you're taught that because that's what I saw. That's what it looked like. That's the only answer I can give you. It looks apish because that's the way it looked.
Hey, has anybody on here seen the video footage that's on YouTube of the Sasquatch looking in the window? And I think Thinker Thunker does a good breakdown of it. Yeah, with the eye shine and all that.
Yeah, I think that's a complete fake. I think it's a complete fake. Absolutely, total fake.
I can't even see anything in it. Like, you mean where the guy screams and stuff?
And there you got like red eyes or some crap looking in the window.
No, there's no screaming. There's just a video image of supposedly a Squatch looking in the window. You can see it. You can see the thing looking in.
Right.
It looks very suspicious. But my whole thing is, so what did they do? Just set up a camera and just wait, or what? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's a good point too. Was that their security camera? Why was that camera facing the window?
Right.
And it was locked off because it wasn't like shaking like somebody was holding it because they heard something. It was locked off. There was no movement whatsoever of the camera. So it was pointed that way for a reason. What other reason than to catch the Bigfoot looking in the window with the stupid LED lights in his eyes?
Yeah, see, I couldn't understand why. That was, I mean, It looked like it could be real, but my whole thing on that is, what did they just set up a camera in the window hoping to catch something? But Thinker Thunker does a breakdown of it. Dee Dee, you're gonna have you seen that, Dee Dee?
The breakdown.
I've only seen two different ones like that. The one where it's a bunch of young guys in a kitchen and they scream, they kind of scream, they see something.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
Okay, that one I totally don't even see anything. But if it's the one that came out before that, I couldn't see that one either. I never could. I saw Thinker Thunker's breakdown, and I still couldn't see anything.
Yeah, and Thinker Thunker, if I remember right, tried to say it was a Squatch, and I'm pretty sure that's when I commented on. I said, no, it's not. He always deletes my comments when I say that.
Well, I just was looking at that video Brenda Harris had made, and it wasn't that recent. Well, it was in maybe February of this year. The one my brother,
the one you
made
sent me the link to, yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you look at that video, she's got a picture. She was doing an investigation that they had horses at this ranch. Brenda helps her community. She's a really nice lady. In this video, if you go towards the end, there's a picture of a Squatch.
Yeah.
Is it a game cam or what was that?
That was a game cam she had set up, and she talked about. Oh no, that wasn't the game cam. That was when she was out setting up the game cams. She got this feeling like she was being watched, so she was just taking pictures of like the wood line to see if she would catch something, and she did. And I think that it was something. It's either a man in a suit or it's a Bigfoot. But given who Brenda is, I don't think it was a man in a suit. So.
It's a creepy picture.
Yeah, but there was one part where she talked about the eyes. There was a game cam set up by the horse's stall, and she said, "Oh, there's two eyes." And then she showed another version of the same picture from the same camera, which was zoomed differently, and she said, now they're gone. Well, they weren't. They were still there. I know what that was. That's called a hot pixel. That's when either the chip has a bad spot on the sensor, so it puts a hot pixel in there, or the lens has something on it, and the chip is trying to make sense of it, so it makes it a hot pixel. It was one of those two things. Probably something was on the lens. But when she went to the first one, she had brightened up the brightness, and that brought out the two eyes. But on the second one, the brightness wasn't bright. If you brought it up, you would see the two eyes were still there, because it was actually 3 dots. All 3 of them were either hot pixels or something on the lens, and the camera made them hot pixels.
But what I thought was interesting was the one where they had to actually show you where the eyes and nose were, because the first time I saw that picture, I didn't see anything. And it was recently that I noticed, well, that is a face.
Yeah, well, no. I think that Brenda's wrong about that. It looks like there's something there, but that's pareidolia. Because if you look at the whole picture, you can see that that's hair, right? There's a bunch of hair there. Well,
mostly hair.
Well, did you see the size of the hairs? The hairs were like, if that was an eyeball there, then that hair was the size of a drinking straw. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Right.
And then the eyes were so close to where the hair was coming up that the forehead, the top of the head, would have only been like an inch tall. So that's not possible. So that's pareidolia. That's, again, not looking at perspective and comparing size and figuring it out that way. I mean, I don't think Brenda's trying to pull one over. I think she genuinely thinks that. It's just, she's not thinking about all the other factors, I think.
Hey, Rick, is Brenda the one that investigated and broke the story of that elderly couple supposedly on the reservation that was killed in their trailer?
I've not heard that one. So
has anyone else? Does anyone else know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about.
But I just interviewed
somebody
her.
Actually watched. Somebody It was a lady and her kids, right? True to form. They
Yes,
actually watched this creature go to the house. There wasn't anything the lady could do because they had been having trouble with the creature, you know, banging on the houses, throwing stuff, whatever. And the lady was a lady and her husband. They were elderly, and they went in there. Didn't they kill both of them?
yes, exactly right, Dee Dee. It was the neighbors had watched it, unfortunately witnessed it, and those squatchers actually went into that trailer and killed the elderly couple.
Yeah, the neighbor
And
was scared to death. She was by herself. I don't think she either had a husband or the husband wasn't home, but she had two small children with her. And she couldn't, she felt helpless because she thought if she went out there to help, they'd kill her and her kids too.
yeah, what do you think of that story? I really don't know what to think about it. Rick. I'm surprised you don't know about it.
Well, I just interviewed Brenda in, I think, May, and I asked her about things that,
I'll
like,
go find.
along those lines, and she didn't mention anything like that. So unless it's happened since then, it wasn't her, and I've not heard of that one yet.
I thought it was Brenda Harris. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I think it is. But I could be wrong. But
No,
Dee Dee, isn't that the case where the Squatches went in that trailer, killed the couple, and then threw the guy up on the roof or something like that?
Yeah, they like, I can't remember exactly what they did, but they found his body not inside the trailer, but outside the trailer. I'm going to go look it up.
I would hope. I don't think it was Brenda, because she would have talked to me about that when I interviewed her, because I asked her about that kind of thing.
I could be wrong, but I thought it was on the reservation. I thought it was her.
Well, it might be, but she's not the only one who does things on a reservation. I've not heard that one, and she never said anything about that. And we specifically talked about them killing people, eating people, taking young girls, because she was the one who told me stories about them running up to trucks and cars and trying to pull people's daughters out of the passenger side and stuff like that, out of the bed of the truck. Actually, there was one where a little girl was taken out of the bed of the truck and never seen again.
Yeah, I heard that. I've heard those stories, but with a story like that elderly couple being killed, and even if it did happen on a reservation, wouldn't that make major news headlines? Or do you think that's something that they would just totally cover up?
Well, Brenda told me stuff that happens on the reservation tends to stay on the reservation because they have their own police force, and they don't like to involve the, I forget what, there's a name they have for the people that don't live on the reservation, the outsiders or whatever. They don't really like to do that. So, she probably knows what you're talking about, but I don't think it was her, and she didn't mention it to me, and I've never heard of it, so.
I don't know. I just mentioned it because whenever I listen to that story or study it, that's just one of those cases that just made me go, boy, if that really happened like that, that's really something.
Well, I know there was a story that sounds similar to what you're talking about, but the Bigfoot didn't kill them. He beat the hell out of the old man, and the police responded, and the guy was hurt pretty bad, and I guess the Bigfoot came back several times, and it became a problem, and I think the old people moved or something. But that's the only thing I've ever heard about a confrontation between elderly people and a Bigfoot. The guy was.
Now that's a different story. I've heard of that one too, where he beat the shit out of the old guy.
Yeah.
Now, there's another one where they totally.
Rick, I just emailed it to you. But it's a YouTube, and it was the first time I had heard about it was, Mysteries to Search. That's where it was on YouTube by Brenton Solwyn.
Oh, Brenton.
Yeah. But it's a pretty compelling story.
That's an hour long. Is it the whole thing?
Yeah. You know,
I'll listen to
he
it
does.
later.
Okay.
So, true to form, what's your story? What's your experience?
As far as what do you mean?
Have you had sighting or what?
No, well, I had talked to Rick about this, and I first let me ask you this. Let me ask you all this. Have any of y'all ever been on a Canadian fishing trip? Have you ever been up to Canada, any of the provinces, and been fishing for any length of time?
No.
No.
No, not for a length of time.
But have y'all been on fishing trips? Not necessarily Canada or.
No, I don't.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yes.
I don't eat fish.
Okay. So what do y'all do when you go fishing on a trip like that? Well, I can just say for me and my brothers, we used to go up to Canada. We did it 4 years in a row. We went up into, it was the Ontario province, about 250, 300 miles north of Toronto, in an area called the Kawartha Lakes region. And you could drive to it, but a lot of people would fly in. So it's one of them type areas. And we went up to a place up there called Wagger's Pine Point Lodge. And so, when you go on a trip like that with the guys, what do? You fish, and what else do? You drink and party, right?
Oh yeah, you got to plan out your whole trip: food, drink, everything.
Okay, so it was a normal trip. A lot of fishing, hardcore. We went up there to fish, and but of course we do all the things that you do on a trip like that. Do a lot of drinking afterwards, sitting around the fire, everybody, having a good time, eating. And then what do you do when it's all said and done? You settle in. You all settle into your cabins or what have you. So I was up on a trip one summer, and it was a normal day. We had fished all day, come back, cleaned all the fish, ate real good, and then drink a lot of beer. And so then it come time, everybody tuckered out, start settling in. So about, I don't know what time it was, because I was probably still kind of drunk, but I had fallen asleep and I had to go to the bathroom. I woke up had to go to the bathroom. So I got up and got out of bed and walked out to the patio. And this was, I'm guessing, about 3:30 in the morning. And I looked out at the lagoon below us, and I thought I had saw two squatches, an adult and an adolescent, a smaller one. And at the time, it really didn't hit me. It really didn't hit me what I saw until the next morning. Kind of like what Rick said, it didn't hit him till years later. It wasn't until the next morning that I realized that I think I saw two squatches last night, because I went over to where they were standing, and there was no way that it could have been deer or anything like that, because they were standing in 6 feet of water. And the large one, the water was only up to about its mid thigh, but the younger one, it was up to like its waist. And these squatches, if it's what I saw, they were blonde in color. Have any of you heard about the light tan colored ones?
I've heard of the blonde ones, yeah.
Yeah, so I can't say 100%. I'm not going to go on the record and say yes, I saw two squatches, but I damn well think I did. And but I won't go on the record and say with 100% that I'm sure that's what I saw. But I'm pretty sure that's what I saw.
Well, were they wearing clothes?
They had the pointed vaginal crest like Rick describes. They had all that, and they had but their fur coating on these ones, and I've researched this, and it was like tan blondish, and there are squatches that are seen that have that color.
Yeah, just for the record, I don't do the sagittal crest thing. Mine doesn't have a sagittal crest. It has like a compressed forehead where the frontal lobe would be, which makes it look like the back of his head's pointy. You know what I mean? If you crushed your front of your head down a little bit. But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, I just said that, Rick, because I've heard you use that terminology. I didn't say that was yours. I've heard you say that before. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the pointed type, but
So you're saying
I can't say for sure that's what I saw, but I think I did. It wasn't until the next day when I went down there to investigate the area that
sagittal crust is it's like a ridge line that runs from the front to the back. You know, it's like a ridge line. I guess gorillas have that, but I don't think Bigfoots do. Well, they might, but I've heard too many people say they don't, and which means it's either two different species, or it's just bad hair day that makes them look like they have a sagittal crest. You know, which wouldn't be, you know, impossible since they don't have brushes and shampoo and conditioner.
Well, anyway,
did yours have clothes on or not?
Hello? Did it what?
Was it were they wearing clothes?
What do you mean was they wearing clothes? Are you trying to be funny?
No. You said you're not going to say that they were Bigfoots. Well,
yeah. No, they weren't wearing clothes.
Then they were Bigfoots.
I don't No, yeah, I can't say 100% certain that that's what I saw, but I'm pretty sure that that's what I saw.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. If they weren't wearing clothes, then that's what you saw.
Well,
sure as hell wasn't somebody taking a bath.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and that's when it really set in. When I went down there to investigate the area, well, I was like, well, there's no. I mean, I actually saw how deep the water was right there, and it freaked me out. And then I tried to just relax and envision everything that I saw because I was kind of groggy. I got up, I looked down, I was going out to take a piss. I had to go to the bathroom, and I just got out of bed, walked out to the edge of my little patio stairway there, and I just looked down over the lagoon, and I saw them things, and in the moment, I really didn't think too much about it. So I went down to the bottom of the steps, and I walked up the little knoll there to get a better look, and by the time that I got to the top of the knoll, they were gone. So that's what I'm saying. I can't say 100% that that's what I saw, but when I did get down to the ground, I did try to get a better look, but at that point, they were already gone.
Well, how long did it take you to get there?
Not long. I mean, I don't know, a half a minute.
Okay, and how far out in the lagoon were they?
They were on the other side of it. That was probably 30 yards from where I was standing.
Yeah, but how far from the edge of the water were they?
They were that's what I'm saying. It freaked me out. They were probably 4 to 5 feet off the edge into the water.
Well, that's not that far. Because I was going to try and say, if it took you that long to walk and you're not in water, you know, when you try to walk through water, especially when it's mid-thigh, it takes you a while to get out of the water because the resistance from the water. But if they're only 5 feet from the edge, you know, they might have been, well, no, if it only took you 10 to 30 seconds, you should have at least seen them, like, as they hit the edge, I would think.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I didn't. By the time I got on the ground and then walked up a little knoll, I looked down into the lagoon from the ground, they were already gone. And I think they heard me coming. But you got to realize is, you know, I think those two sneaky squatches sneaked in to our camp after everybody had settled in. And remember I told you, I thought that it looked like they were looking down into the water. But I think those sneaky sons of bitches were looking at our fish that we had cleaned on the other side of because our cleaning station was right on the other side of that lagoon. They were looking into our camp area.
Sure, they were after your fish. They smelled that for a long ways off. Now, I'm curious, though, what was the weather like? Was it a moon out or clouds? What?
Are you there? I think we might have lost him.
Yeah, I think so.
He's still showing online, but I don't see his mic active.
No, I'm here.
Oh. Well, you didn't answer him, so we thought you were gone.
No. The weather, to the best of my recollection, because I'm trying to think if that was the trip. Because remember, I told you I went 4 summers in a row, and I can tell you the lake we were on was Jack's Lake. If y'all want to research that, Jack's Lake, and we were at Wagger's Pine Point Lodge on the lake, and there was 1 or 2 nights where it was a new moon, which a new moon is completely dark. There's no moon, no nothing. And I can't remember if that was that night or not, but I'm pretty sure there was a moon out that night. It was good weather, great weather, no rain. It was nice, temperate, warm.
I think you're mixed up. It's no moon, not new moon.
Oh well, no. Well, in the moon cycle, they call the new moon is when
I'm
there's
kidding.
no moon.
I was just messing with you. It's new moon, no moon. You know.
Yeah. I know you are, but I play the whole scenario in my mind over and over and over. Like I said, they were real sneaky. They waited till we all settled in, and I believe that's when they tried to sneak in. And like I said, when you all go wading in the water and you're walking in the water in your bare feet and you're looking down because you want to try to see what you're stepping on. I thought that's what they were doing, but now that I think about it, they were looking over into our campsite, and I think they were looking at our fish.
Sure they were. You know how far that smell carries.
And they were being really sneaky, let me tell you. As I play the scenario over and over in my head, they were just being really sneaky about it. And I'm almost certain and positive it was an adult with a younger one. It was a taller one and it had a child with it. I'm almost certain of
it. I'm telling them how to steal.
There's Native Americans that traded, well, didn't trade with them, but didn't they haven't they been a few accounts where they caught fish and gave them some?
Well, I don't know, but I'm sure they were being real sneaky. They were going to probably come in, and I'm sure they probably done it many, many times at Wagger's Pine Point Lodge, sneak in at night, take whatever it is they can take, any kind of scraps of food, anything left on the tables. I'm sure they've done it over and over and over. Well,
sure.
That night when they tried to come in, I got up to go to, like I said, I had to go to the bathroom, and they weren't expecting that, neither was I.
Well, it's just another resource to them.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say is, these ones were blondish tan in color. And so I thought that was really unique. And I've heard about that coloration before. So I researched Sasquatch sightings in that area of Ontario. And guess what? All the sightings in that area are tan squatches. Do you believe that?
Are you talking like a khaki-ish color?
Kind of like that, yeah. I want to say blonde. I mean, if you want to use hair color, I want to say it was like a dirty blonde, of course.
Yeah, that would be kind of like a khaki or, yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was really unique. When I done research in that area, all the squatches that have been seen in that area have been that coloration. That's really something, don't you all think?
Well, that's
Hey, did you pick up any facial recognition, any facial features or anything?
No, I couldn't see any facial. The hair was. These ones had the longer type hair, and it was over their face, so I really couldn't see that.
Okay,
and that's the only thing that throws me off. That's the only thing about the whole thing is I couldn't see facial features, and only because the hair was down over the forehead and into the face. Like they had, like if we all had really long hair and it was in our face.
Right.
But
I heard a story. I think it was out of Canada, and it was from a show from a long, long time ago. Rick, you probably remember Sasquatch Watch Radio with Billy Willard. Anyway, there was a couple that were, I guess, taking a nature walk, and they saw a blondish, like you say, tannish one, and they said it looked like an old man.
Yeah, I've heard that story before. Yeah. In other words, well, at least the one I'm thinking about, because either I've heard the ones that look like old man have silver hair, but I've also heard the blonde ones, but he's bald, like an old man. He's bald on top of his head. Is that what you're talking about?
I think so.
Because I've heard that, yeah.
But they said the hair was long. Like his hair was like really long.
Like he wasn't bald? Then it's a different story. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think, I don't remember all the details, but I think he had a receding like hairline, like an old man. But he had long hair everywhere else.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah, I do remember that. He had longish hair, like 6-inch hair instead of the shorter.
I can email that one to you, true to form.
Yeah, do that. I think I know what you're talking about. I've seen that. But I just thought it was really unique that when I done my research on the area, that all the sightings in the area around where I had mine, all the sightings there are described as blonde. I just thought that was really unique.
Well, it just verifies that that's what you saw, you know.
Well, that, and when like I said, the next morning when I went down there and looked exactly where they were standing at in the lagoon, and I saw actually how deep it was there, that kind of freaked me out a little bit. Because on the adult, like I said, it was only up to like mid-thigh. When I try to recollect my vision and try to remember what I saw, that adult, the water level was standing only in thigh-deep water, but the smallest waist. But if I was to be standing right there, I looked at it, it would probably be up, you know, just below my chest.
Wow, really? That's pretty deep.
Yeah, like I said, the water had to be at least a good 5 feet there. I'm 6 foot. So the water had to be a good, at least, when I looked at how deep the water was right there, it kind of freaked me out a little bit.
And on the Bigfoot, it was like just below his crotch kind of thing?
Yes, exactly, on the adult. Now, on the younger one, it was, you know, of course, it was like up above its waist area, you know, around that way. But I remember on the larger one, the water level was just like upper thigh area.
Yeah. Well, people on YouTube, I'm going to go ahead and close out the show because it's over 4 hours long now, and
Stay safe, y'all.
I'm going to have to chop it up. Well, this is the YouTube video I'm shutting down. This